Friends, welcome back. It is September 17th, 2025, Virtual Strangers, episode 228 is live. I, of course, am your host, Wes. With me, as always, is my good friend, Ruuts. And joining us from the very tippy top today, our good friend, Brad. Brad, it has been a while, as usual. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to talking about a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, there's plenty of garbage to go around. I don't get to talk to you as much as I used to, Ruuts. And I think about half of our conversations these days are about just that, a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the world's full of garbage, but there's also good stuff out there as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of good happening in the world right now, actually. That's a good observation. Brett, I feel like it's almost annual with us. Like, if it's not annual, like we never get more than two in a year, and it used to be a lot more frequent during the crewcast days and stuff, and when you were active on your channel. But increasingly, life has kept us out of content creation. Life has kept you out of content creation, and we've kind of moved on to the next phase, whether we actually meant to or not. But I've been looking forward to getting you in here, and I'll promise not to take this too personal, but I haven't really had a chance to have a good conversation with you yet since you've been like well into fatherhood. Like, you were a new father, I think, the last time that we spoke. But I've been looking down your Twitter feed and seeing all these beautiful pictures of your daughter, and man, first of all, she is beautiful. So congratulations on that. But how's fatherhood been treating you?
Thank you. I like it a lot so far. Yeah, it's like changed my brain to think in some ways differently in a good way.
Yep.
I'm not crazy in a bad way anymore, I guess you can say, in some ways. But it's been a lot of fun. It's kind of like this sounds messed up, but it's just like it's fun to see the different phases because they start out like kind of like a fish. They don't really do anything, but then they become a hamster. And then now they're getting to dog, and now they're starting like a monkey, right? Like, they're getting smarter, and like they surprise you with the new things. Yeah, she's really fun. I like to take her swimming a lot. She loves that. Even though she's almost 7 months, but I told her, and she really likes to slap the water and stuff like that. So a lot of that stuff's fun, and she loves to growl at me, which is probably my favorite part.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it a lot.
I love it so much. It really is, and I know it's so cliche to say this, and people who don't have kids get so sick of hearing it, but it really is the best thing that life has to offer you. And there's so many phases, and you are just getting started, but you are far along enough now to kind of recognize the effect that it has on you and the way you start seeing the world differently. And let me just tell you, it only gets more intense and crazy as they get older, and you have to gradually let go of them and let them kind of be who they are more and more. But it's a beautiful thing, and I'm very happy for you, and I can see it in every image that I've looked at that you're in love with her, and I can certainly absolutely understand why. It's a weird thing to hold this, I guess in a lot of ways before you become a parent, you kind of think of babies and stuff in the similar vein. Not, obviously it's not the same thing, but you kind of think of them like a pet or something like that, like something to take care of and something to do, something that consumes resources. But when you have your child and you look down in its face and you see aspects of yourself or your spouse, not only physical features, but like personality traits and just all sorts of different things, it really kind of strikes you on a different level.
Yeah, again, I can't. I'll just like I'll try to summarize it. But like before having a kid, I was always terrified of having a kid. But after having a kid, I can't really imagine life not having a kid anymore.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
There is one more thing I want to add, and this is I don't want to like another interesting thing about it is it came like kind of the perfect time for me, I feel, because like I'm already doing like my own life experiments in the spatial computing stuff where it's like, hey, I don't have monitors anymore. I gotta figure out how to wear a headset and work and do things daily while also raising a kid. So there's a lot of interesting things there that might be weird to some people, but it's like for me, it's like imagining when the first home camcorders came out, for example. Like people, they were so expensive. People, only a few people had them, but the people that had them learned to like be able to take home recordings of their kids, and that was like so magical. And there's a lot of little things like that that I get to run into every day because just the timing was perfect where the technology is. And we'll probably talk more about that later. But yeah,
Oh, I'm
it's
so happy about that because I've been singing the praises of like spatial video. I guess that's what they're calling it these days. For years now, and just how profound the impact is going to be for people when they're able to accurately relive memories in the future. That you're going to literally be able to relive moments that most people lose over time when their memory starts to go. And we're just going to be able to slip into our glasses or whatever the form factor ends up being, and just hitting a button and reliving that long after our children become cold assholes and move halfway across the world. Um, we're going to be able to remember the good old days. And you're right. It's hitting at the perfect time for you, as you do have access to some of the more high end technology to that regard. But even like the phones now, like the phones are doing, like the Samsung phones are going to be doing it soon, which is awesome.
yeah, very underrated
It,
feature. It's probably like my favorite thing. Like I'm so glad it's being, like you said, with the phones. It's just the fact that everyone's gonna have a 3D camera in their pocket pretty soon is just, God, thank God. When I went to Display Week, I met this guy, who he was a very older gentleman, and he was so happy to see me with a giant Canon camera with like a stereo 3D lens,
oh,
and he
you
was
got the
talking about
lens, the one that came out like last year, or the year
it
before,
came
like the
out,
split.
yeah, a couple years ago. They showed it at
Yeah.
CES and stuff, and yeah, he was so happy to see just someone with a 3D lens, and he had like this cool custom built gimbal rig where he put two high end smartphones like right next to each other, and he was like doing it, recording it all. Like this guy's clearly a pro and has been doing it for many years of his life. But he was like, "Yeah, I'm so excited to see you with 3D. I've been such a big fan of 3D for so many years, and it's just getting better and better. Like all the technology is finally making it easy." So I'm excited, but I know there's even more people who have been around for a lot longer than me that are even just ecstatic about it, and they should be. It's awesome.
That guy says it's easy. In the meantime, he has to try to stitch two video feeds together into a stereoscopic image. That was always my challenge with it. Was, I never had like a high end camera. I had like low level, like consumer grade 3D cameras, and even at that, like they all had like proprietary editing software with it. I never could get the hang of editing this stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I kind of played with the thought for a little while of getting more into that and maybe making that into a career because it is so cool. Like I think there's going to be an emerging marketplace for people with professional grade equipment to capture the things that people are capturing on regular cameras now, like wedding photographers, things like this. Like capturing that spatially and being able to edit it
Yeah.
is going to be something in the next few years that is going to be highly sought after. So anybody that's got time and money and to invest in that, it's something really cool to get into.
Especially when they have the headsets on everybody's head or the technology. And that's one of the things that I've been kind of excited about a lot of what's going on, at least in this respect, because I think everybody's, like I saw in the Discord, people or in the chat, people were saying that they were hoping for more gaming news in the Meta Connect and stuff. And I'm like, we need the technology to be on everybody's head, like doing things that everybody does on a daily basis, watching movies, YouTube, searching the web, all these things, and maybe in 3D. So I kind of feel like Apple is a little bit ahead of it, the curve in that respect. I'm looking at it a little bit differently, Wes, than I used to.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And yeah, if you're showing up today for gaming news, it's going to be a sad day for you. But and we'll get to that in a few minutes. We're going to talk about Connect, but it's not all bad. And again, we'll explain why. But it's largely alludes to what Roots is talking about here, and that is. Um, in some ways, Apple has kind of taken over as, in some aspects, of pushing the direction of the space and the technology and where it's going. Now, obviously, Meta's still, in all of their billions and billions of dollars that they're putting into, especially hardware research, they're still firmly in the driver's seat. But Apple. Did some things with Vision that for a lot of us seem like no brainers, things Meta should have been doing already anyway. But um, Apple very much brought it to market and improved it out as something that people want and use. And Meta seems to be following suit, and I imagine Google and many others will be shortly as well. Anyway, I don't want to jump the gun here. We need, where are our manners, Roots? We got to say hello to our friends in chat before
One
we
more
get into
thing
any of this stuff.
before you
Yeah,
do
go ahead.
that, I want to say, I'm looking at, I'm thinking Apple versus Meta. Okay, Apple avatars versus, or I guess Brad, how he looks right now versus any Meta avatar you've ever seen. It's like you know what I mean? This generic fucking retarded looking thing. Yes, I said the R word. And then you got what Brad had. Brad, it just looks. I mean, it looks like Brad. It's Brad. It just looks so good, and it looks 100 times better than it did, even a year ago or 6 months ago. It's crazy.
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks
right?
ago. Yeah, it's crazy.
No, it does look great. And for what it's worth, Meta making their own strides on their codec avatars, which do look great. I read an article, and I don't know what what the basis was for the setup of it, but the gist of the article I read a couple of months ago basically said that they had those avatars running on Quest hardware now. Now I don't think that they have it in like the Lex Friedman, Mark Zuckerberg interview level quite yet, but the fact that they're getting that stuff to work on any level on current standalone hardware is pretty impressive, if true. Um, anyway, we'll get into all that. Let's say hello to the people who waited for us and showed up tonight. They're the true stars of the show. Old Darth is here. D1360VR as well. Mepper. Brondo's here. What's up, Brondo? Gabriel 004. Cheese is Nasty is here. And no, Cheese is Nasty. Most people aren't going to pay $3,500 for a headset, but it's not about that. These first iterations are about shaping what the future generations are going to be, and tapping into ultra rich people to fund it and test it for them. So it's fulfilling its role for sure. Inferno 9 is here. Traveling Man 3775 here. Looper is here. Good to see you. Looper's going to be on the show next week. We're going to do we're shooting to do game of the month next week. I can't go this weekend, or else we would probably go do it sooner. But this weekend is my annual rock show, the festival I go to every year. So literally, I'll be leaving tomorrow and be gone for the better part of the next 4 days.
You need break, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be coming home every night, working from like 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day, and then going and doing this. But yeah, it'll be nice to get away and have some fun. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. No. So we'll be back next week. We're going to do Game of the Month for August. It wasn't a super heavy month, but there were some notable titles in there. And I'm fairly certain we have access to all of them now and are playing them. And beyond that, the dam is broken, ladies and gentlemen. I've gotten so many review keys over the last 2 weeks that we're set as long as things keep trending as they have. and I continue to insist to take time for myself to play VR games, we should be getting back to a more regular schedule. Now, we're on a more regular schedule now than we were earlier in the year. I expect that trend to continue, and I think very soon we'll be back to weekly shows. So thank you everyone for bearing with us through what has been a challenging year. But there's tons of great games coming already, and I can't wait to play them and talk about them with you all. Anyways, Alejimbe D, 2-year Underground Stranger Game Cat is here. Hello, friend. What's up, Salvador? What's up, Lord Beavis? Chinatown D's in the house. D will be returning for Game of the Month as well. So, what up, D? Radio Runt, I think I already said hello to. Hello again. Philozix is here. Xbox Game Pass is here. Is that like the Xbox Game Pass? We have a celebrity among us.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Silk Song. That's my Xbox Game Pass. Next game I'm going to be playing.
There's a mod for it, man. There's a mod for it. If you want to play it in 3D, there is a VR mod for it now. And obviously, it's a side scroller. It's going to play out like, what was that game we played last year? Witchblood or
Wes, that game was
Nightmares.
Beautiful. The music I haven't played the Silk Song, but I've been playing Hollow Knight. And everything I'm reading about Silk Song is like they've made it in every way a better game. And so it's like one of the best platforming Metrovania games out there. So
I'm down to cover it. If you want to add it to the list, we can throw that mod on there, and it looks really cool. Like everything happens kind of diorama style in front of you, but some of like the environmental effects, like particle effects and stuff, actually fill your entire space, and it's really cool.
Plus the different amount of charms and different items and the way they work. It reminds me a lot of, Remnant 2, nothing's been like that as far as the way things work and the different builds you can do. But it's just like there's different ways you can play it, different abilities, different moves, and it just looks really cool. So.
Agreed. Good games are good games, right? Tatum's here. What's up? John Tatum, good to see you. Space Dennison, Hamoud joining us. Hello. Fluke Rogi says, I've run out of copium and I'm now in withdrawal. Well, hang in there, friend. I think brighter days are coming soon, but how many years in a row have we said that? So who knows? Let's see. Anyone else new? Rick Aaron here. What's up, Rick? JLW99. Hello. Who else? A lot of repeat names toward the top. I'm sure there's a few, maybe not. The Headbite's here. What up, Headbite? My wife in the chat. Hello, wife. Your wife's hanging in there today. She was in the chat for Without Parole earlier as well, so she's fully on board.
Like the good old days. She's probably just as busy as you since you're busy so much.
Dude, she takes care of literally everything else. Like I'm sitting here in front of the computer just typing away all day. She's the one that feeds everyone and homeschools everyone and does all the like actually important things.
The glue.
Yeah, exactly. So like I wouldn't be able to do anything that I do without her. So super blessed to have that kind of support. I never know how to pronounce laggy, lage.
I say lage because it sounds very fancy.
Sounds kind of lage to me, but whatever. Thanks for joining. Chris Richardson's here. Chris Richardson, I don't want to swear to this, but my memories are telling me that you recently won a prize and have not claimed it. Maybe it was, what did we give away most recently, Roots? The Last of Us. The Last of Us key. I had a key for The Last of Us on PC. I'm not sure about it. Go back and skim the episode to make sure, but I think I owe you a game key, friend, so tag me on Discord and get it. Marcio, the legendary Platinum Underground Game Cat, is here as well. Who else? Tom the 12-toed backlogged GameCat joining. Hello. Thanks for joining. Four Villains here, and that is as far north as we can go. Let's see what kind of slippies we have slipping into the chat. GameCat, specifically a white tiger, slipping in at the end here. Robbie Y joining. Yeah. Corey Reviews. What's up, Corey? Okay. I think that's everyone. If I missed you, my apologies. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for hanging in. Thank you to Patreon. Like we've had a lot of Patreon fall off this year for obvious reasons. Like we're not doing regular episodes anymore. When we do regular episodes, I don't have time to do show notes anymore. We just kind of wing it. And we have had some drop offs, but we've had a lot of people still just fucking hanging in there with us and supporting, and it is still helpful. These things pay for a number of different things like Luke Ross mods and game keys and things like that, the giveaways and like all sorts of different things. So we appreciate people hanging in there and having faith that when we tell you we're not going anywhere, we're just figuring it out right now. That so many of you trust what we're saying here and know that we're not lying about that. So thank you everyone for hanging out, and we'll talk more about that at the end of the show. Anyway, now that that's behind us, let's get into some actual, I want to say VR talk, but in many ways it won't be. But let's start off with some actual VR talk, and let's talk about the latest, maybe not the latest, but the somewhat latest speculations when it comes to what has previously been known as Valve Deckard. Brad, I guess it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I do still follow you on Twitter, even though you've gone largely away from everywhere else. I do still follow you on Twitter, and you had something very interesting to reveal from some of the more late data mining sessions with regard to Steam VR. And it was the appearance of this term, this new term, frame, Steam frame. Now, if I recall correctly, and if I was following right, initially you thought that maybe this frame was a brand that was going to be applied specifically to overlays, which is something that you've talked a lot about in the past, is that something you think is going to be a prominent feature in the next headset, in the next OS. But if I was following you correctly, you very quickly pivoted from that and says that, well, maybe now that's just the name of the hardware itself. Did I follow that correctly? Is that kind of how things went?
Almost. So okay. Let's rewind a little bit before that data mine, because the same man, Valve's kind of obvious sometimes. So first, Valve actually filed a trademark for Steam frame. And if you look into the trademark information, it actually flat out said that it's hardware focused, this trademark. Wow. So it's, yeah, real product trademarks are starting to happen. That's how crazy we're getting. And actually, originally when I saw that trademark, I didn't think it was the VR headset, because I know they're also working on a console, like a home TV set type box as well. That's a different project. It's called Fremont. Some people were getting Fremont and Frame kind of mixed up, but they're different. But that same day that the trademark was published, a very large Steam VR beta came out, probably on purpose, with a lot of interesting, fun little data mining strings to look into. And right off the bat, the most obvious thing was everything related to, or I shouldn't say everything, but a lot of the underlying systems that are currently used for Steam VR overlays, they've been renaming those systems to frames, overlays to frames, which obviously made me quite excited because, as you said, I've always been a pretty big fan of overlays, and I always hoped that Valve was going down the whole focus on their takes on the spatial computing. I call it jokingly spatial gaming, and that whole data mine pretty much just says, Steam Frame does seem to be like probably the product name for their headset. They're probably going to have all of it based around their overlay system. Another thing that kind of leaked, but it's complicated, but also the final version of the controllers that are going to launch with the Deckard headset or Steam frame were also leaked as well. And I got the full render models. They're not marked as prototypes or anything. And to kind of show even more confidence that this thing is going to be a big push from Valve this time. Not saying that Valve Index wasn't, but they're putting the Steam branding definitely on this new headset because the controllers, instead of saying Valve, they're putting the actual Steam logos directly on it. And it's already on those render models that are
Yeah,
finalized. So
it's
definitely a
very
huge
exciting.
push. Yeah.
It's exciting because, after all the years of speculation that we've engaged in, trying to kind of piece together what this product may be, to have so many different things kind of converging all at the same time and pointing to the same type of product. Now it just seems so obvious, right? Like now that the pieces are coming together, what they're going to attempt to do here, again, if we're correct, um, it seems like the obvious next move and something that could in some ways be disruptive to the larger marketplace, I feel like.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like we're kind of like in this period of XR where we've had Meta, obviously. They have been building out their ecosystem, right? And they're far ahead, I would say. Like they have a lot of developers that are building VR only titles, but you're starting to also see companies like Google and Apple. Obviously, Apple released their headset, but they're pushing the ecosystems they already had built for many years and trying to kind of put that into an XR spatial context. Um, and I feel like with the Deckard or Steam frame, I'm gonna still call it Deckard because I don't know, it's more recognizable still to people who've been following it, but it definitely seems like Valve's going to do the same thing where they have this massive library of games, whether it be VR or non-VR, and they just really want to tap into that with some extra XR specialized features that they've been developing on the side as well.
Well, let me
Well,
ask you
that's
this,
the
Brad.
go ahead, Ritz.
What are your do you think that, because I didn't really think of it this way, because I thought, okay, I don't really want a standalone headset. Obviously this one I think is going to be better than Meta, but I never thought of it from the flat gaming perspective until recently, which is mainly what I play. And being able to play the games that I love in VR do you think it would be 3D? I would imagine that. I mean, that would be the cherry on the topper. But just being able to, for gamers in general, to be able to take this headset with and be able to play their Steam games, and they don't need a TV. They can take it in their hotel or wherever. I think people are not looking at it the same way that they should look at this. Like, we need everybody to be using this thing, not just people that are loving VR, you know?
Yeah. So I just want to like touch on the control. So yeah, let's start with the controllers because if anyone's not seen them yet, they're basically if you took a Steam Deck, like the controller of the Steam Deck, and like broke it in half and made them into VR controllers. The left side has a D-pad, joystick, and the right side has joystick as well, and A, B, X, Y. Like very gamified, like almost heavily focused on like the standard Xbox controller or PlayStation controller, which clearly hints even more that they're pushing hard on like, hey, you're gonna be able to play all the at least games that you can play on Steam Deck on this headset. Now, if you're going big into that use case, at least is my feelings, Valve's gonna have to show off some special benefits over playing these games on a headset over their other product that's cheaper, the Steam Deck, right? 3D is probably the obvious one. There is like some strings in the actual Steam VR already that relate to activating stereoscopic
Oh,
mode for the
nice.
theater mode that they've been building. And the funny thing about that mode is you can't activate with a button or anything. It has to speak to an internal mailbox that's automated by basically Steam itself. So it seems like that would be like an automated feature based on a game if it has support. That's my feeling on it. Otherwise, you can like kind of hack the console to enable it. So that is probably like the low bearing fruit where I think like you will have to Valve will have to do stuff like that, right? To make people play these games on their head. But another feature I like to think that might happen someday is and there was actually a Steam beta update today that kind of hinted that this may be happening too. But I remember with QTC Eric Masher, we did a thing together where
Who?
I
Wait, who's what? Eric. That's a guy. Person?
Mash
don't-
Daddy Cool. That's right.
Yeah,
My
Mash
bad.
Oh yeah, I
Daddy.
remember that guy. I wonder what ever happened to
Sorry.
that.
So
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
that's okay. Sorry, I couldn't. Anyway, so I put him in with both our Vision Pros. We like got to share our avatar space together, and then we like did a feature on Steam called Remote Play together, where we were all streaming from my PC the same game, and basically recreated the experience of couch co-op for that game, where he was able to tap into my my room. He was able to see me in his room, and we were both playing the same flat screen game, and stuff like that. Those social features I can see Valve totally tapping into in an XR context as well, because it's again very clear that they're focusing heavily on overlays this time around, which is, for those, again, as a reminder, overlays is basically what Apple's been showing off with like spatial computing, what Meta's been tapping into as well, where you just bring 2D or 3D widgets or windows into your AR and VR space and just kind of interact with it on top of the VR AR layer. So yeah,
Looper.
So
Oh,
I'm sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
One more thing. Looper says you can do it on any headset, the 3D, even a PS5 with PSVR 2. But what I'm talking about is natively just having it work with every game that's 3D, and you just play it, and it just works. That doesn't
Like Reshade
exist.
style.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in VR. It's a fucking nightmare. You got to jump through a lot of hoops. A lot of people will never ever do it. And for you or me, Looper, it's no big deal. But for a lot of people, it's never going to happen. So I get excited about people that actually just want to use their that's why Apple, I think, is a bigger deal than I thought. Is like, these are real case uses. And VR is such a niche thing. Like, I'm sorry, the VR players we're gonna have to get carried along for the ride with all the mainstream users, to really have this become mainstream, because they're going to be driving it, and we'll benefit with the technology.
Well, that's what has got me so excited about the prospects of this headset. Um, and just a quick word on like the 3D feature. So basically, what Roots is describing here is being able to take a regular flat game into your playing it in your VR headset, but playing it and having it automatically officially support 3D. So that you're still playing on a screen, but it's got 3D depth to it, and it's not going to be like real stereoscopic 3D. I wouldn't expect it to be. I would expect it to be more of a trick like Reshade uses. But the good news about it is that this technology, this trick, is already like well established at this point. It's the same thing that makes these glasses free 3D displays work when you go to Steam and you play these games in 3D on those. It's a very similar process. So maybe Valve will support it officially. I'm still a little bit hesitant to let myself believe that, because the results are so varied title to title, and there's no way that they could test it all. So it would more likely roll out as an experimental feature, or maybe, I mean, at the worst case scenario is, the community's just going to go do it themselves. Valve has always been, champions of the PC mentality, where everything's kind of open and people can do with it what they want. So I'm sure that this is a feature that will be doable in some sense. But what really has me excited about the prospects of this Steam Frame Valve Deckard is it is so obviously going to be targeted for gamers. Like when consumer VR debuted, that it was entirely focused on gamers. Now, since Meta co-opted the technology a few years in. It's been being taken off in all of these other directions, mostly to build out a social platform, and then largely, basically making the internet into a real space that you can visit. Um, so there's obviously a lot of merit to that, and it's all very important to overall adoption, like Roots was talking about earlier. But ever since that moment, kind of like the 2019ish, that's been the main drive for Meta, and they've tried multiple times to kind of put gaming on the back burner, and they've been rebuffed before and had to focus on it more to kind of win back their base. But we haven't had since like Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, PSVR 1, um, innovation in the VR space that's targeted directly at gamers. And that is so obviously what this is, from the controllers and the way that they're laid out to look like a traditional gamepad, to the idea of overlays and frames. Like that's the big selling point here, Brad. Like, even if there is no like official 3D support, people right now, they can put their Steam Deck in their pocket and take their Steam library with them anywhere to play it. But there are concessions that have to be made there. You can't do multiplayer like that, really. You can't. You certainly are always going to be forced to like game on a 6-inch screen. Whereas now, if this product turns out to be what we think it's going to be, not only are people going to, are these flat gamers going to be able to try a 3D headset on that puts the controllers in their hands and feels like their controller, but now they can take like 100-inch screen with them anywhere they want and sit down in a virtual space with their friend, like you were describing earlier, and play together. I think that's a compelling sell for people who maybe aren't interested in trying VR as like for VR's sake, but it's a very nice carrot to get people in a headset. And then after they get in it and then they get used to it, then maybe they try out Half-Life Alyx or Arken Age or something else that's really cool. And that, I think that more than anything is what's got me excited for this project.
Yeah, and I think it's important to kind of go over like there's two things I want to bring up. First, I want to say is when you talk to how do I say this? When you talk to people who have talked to Valve, no one at Valve believes that this headset is going to be the mainstream adoption headset, and they don't really mind that. And it's kind of similar to Apple's stance as well when they do stuff, because generally we all kind of know that the massive amount of consumers is not going to put on a giant pair of ski goggles and do everything in their headset right now. The technology to make that smaller will happen one day, and we kind of are just still figuring out what works, what gets people excited, what people will spend the most time doing these things. And yeah, the obsession with mass adoption or consumer competition is kind of a unnecessary thing, I feel like, with the current age, because we thought Quest 2 was going to be just always going up from there. And it's proven more recently that it hasn't been the case. So you see Meta, for example, kind of going back to the drawing board and doing all these different things, which is in some ways what they should be doing, because some of those things that we thought a few years ago was going to just forever be just profitable and work for consumers has not been the case. So I just wanted to start with that. The other thing I wanted to bring up related to the Deckard, kind of relating what you were just talking about, Wes, is the software it's running, because it is going to be like a standalone headset. They're running a Qualcomm chip. They're building their own they're building, and they're also paying people to build their own version of SteamOS that runs on this headset, but an ARM version of it, and it's designed to easily port over Android ARM VR games, which they've been testing out for a while. So, like you said, one of the draws you will be getting people who are like already playing flat games and want a little bit more out from that experience will be able to do that, and then they can also transition people into the full on VR games as they come out and give like that sort of gateway drug to it. while letting probably they'll probably do the same marketing they did with Steam Deck, where they'll be like, "Can you do this?" And Gabe will probably be like, "Yeah, it's a PC. It's just a PC you wear on your head. So we're gonna let people do all the fun experiments that you want." And I think all that context is kind of what even people who are PC VR enthusiasts are maybe disappointed to find out it's going to be a standalone focused headset. I think that aspect of it will make people like immediately be like, "Oh, that will be valuable from that side of things for sure."
When I used to run video stores in my 20s, and I traveled all over Jackson or Florida, all over, even up to Atlanta. And I had an Xbox. It was like the first console I had. I mainly got it for watching movies, right? And then I played games as well. And I mean, there's how many people like travel around that like legitimately, even if they just want to watch movies and comfortably lay back and watch, like it's a different thing. It's a different focus. And these gamers, or even be able to, that you have a whole media center that you're able to travel with that is completely separate from everything that the hotel garbage they give you, right? I just think it's I'm looking at it from a completely different point of view. And my question for you, Brad, is obviously it's going to be wireless. You don't think it's going to have a connection, like a display port connection you can plug in, or if it does, it obviously would be. I mean, if it doesn't, it should be a better picture than Meta's compression garbage, right?
So another thing that they've been putting a lot of R&D into. So I told this on Gamertag VR, but I kind of want to talk about it here first. So Valve has been working on wireless PC VR for a while. Like even since obviously the HTC Vive days, and they thought they were going to productize something much faster than they ended up uh, never doing, I guess, at this moment. They were actually going to release a index revision that its big primary focus was wireless PC VR. It was literally like finished. The design and everything was finished. They were even like starting to order packaging and everything for this product and all the components, but at the last minute they decided, no, we're not doing this. Which made some people at Valve mad and some people at Valve left. But anyway, the only reason I want to bring that up is they've been working a long time on wireless PC VR. They thought they were going to do it with WiGig, which is a very high bandwidth, 60 gigahertz connection, which was what you saw from the HTC Vive back in the day. You wear this big thing on this big puck on your head, and you would have to plug in a PCIe Express card into your computer to make it run. Now the problem with that was people have started wanting to do wireless PC VR in different rooms from where either their router was or their computer was, and that completely is ruined because you can't even
It won't go through the wall.
Yeah, it won't even go through wall. It won't even go through your head. So they also had to figure out how to like put the radio antennas all around the head in case like your head's occluding it. That's how problematic 6 gigahertz is. So they've been really pushing to getting the normal like 5 gig Wi-Fi, or I guess now more previously 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi that is being used in Wi-Fi 6E, and they're almost, there's so many references to it at this point. There's even like a hard-coded hardware ID for it, where they're going to release a SteamVR link dongle with every Deckard headset, which is just, again, it's gonna be it's like what they Meta did with the I forget what they called it, the VR Air Bridge, I think they called it, and you just plug in your
like
computer. Yeah, I know that one didn't really work well for a lot of people, but I have a feeling, considering that Valve has way more reason for a PC VR dongle to work better, that is something that is going to be a big focus if you don't want to run everything on standalone. I have no idea if they're going to have a wired option. I just know for sure that this dongle thing I've been talking about is going to happen with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're essentially going to build out the Steam Link brand, which is wise, right? Because obviously the emerging ecosystem of next gen devices are all standalone devices and all fairly high spec. So, assuming people have the networking equipment in their house and have a decent router, they should be able to play pretty good quality PCVR wirelessly with any of these headsets. And Steam Link, for what it's worth, has always been a good experience, man. It typically just works. There isn't a whole lot of tinkering involved, and I think that um, that's going to be a big plus. And the fact that they're developing this dongle for it, like you think the dongle is going to come with like literally every headset?
I really think that's going to be the case. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
That
it's
would
kind
be
of funny
smart.
because, yeah, I think it's guaranteed because if they release the console later, then hey, they can be like, our dongle works even best with the console or something, or maybe they'll have the dongle built into the console. But I really do think they'll include it with every headset. It just seems like a no-brainer, especially considering I can't tell you how many references there are to this dongle, so it is quite a big focus other than the headset itself. It's also funny because the first version of Meta VR, or I'm sorry, Steam VR Link came out for Meta Quest headsets 2 years ago, and it's almost like that they put it out there not only to get Meta Quest headsets to connect to the PC and Steam VR and their ecosystem, but I'm sure they've been collecting a lot of useful data to improve it for their own headset. So thanks for beta testing, Quest users.
yeah. So like, it's a mystery whether or not wired PCVR will remain a thing. I would kind of be surprised if it wasn't. This thing's going to have a charging port on it, most likely. Um, so like we can do like DisplayPort alt mode through a USB-C port now, and I
Right.
don't think that would cost a bunch of extra like money or time for them to develop. So being a PC centric company as they always have, I would be kind of surprised if there wasn't a wired mode. But if the wireless experience is really seamless and high quality, then that doesn't really even matter anyway. So I guess the proof will be in the pudding. Um, the other question I'm going to ask you here, Brad, and I already know the answer, but we should go ahead and clarify because there's been so many speculations in the past. The last time they rolled a major product out, of course, was Steam Deck. Steam Deck, when it came along, had three different versions that you can buy with three different price points and different features. A lot of the speculation over past years would be that we could see multiple versions of this headset, or maybe like different kinds of head straps that had different functionality attached to them. Um, do you still think that that's the case, or do you think that they may have come to the realization that the market isn't here to support that type of variety quite yet? So maybe they're have decided at some point to just focus and hone in on a singular vision for what this product is.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a single SKU for this. The only thing that is like an option is the controllers. They are doing the thing that with the battery door that Meta I think does as well, where you can slide out the battery door and slide one in that has a like a hand strap, just like the index controller knuckles. So that'll also probably be included in the box. But yeah, I get the impression they're just gonna have one SKU out there, see how it does, and yeah, that's just seems where it is right now. Because I think I really think this is going to like kind of just I really think they're being very go big this time with the headset, and I think that is going to like they're gonna be announcing a whole kind of like new ecosystem almost for it, and that alone is going to take a lot to sort of manage, and a company like Valve needs to get their priorities together to manage something like this already, is how I feel. So,
Yeah, I agree. The behind the scenes is the place for iterations and ideas. Once you go to market with something that's so kind of niche as these devices still are, you got to have a vision and a direction that you're willing to go, which will upset some people. Like there was a question. Philosix in the chat says no PCVR only headset. Well, I mean, yes and no. Like this isn't going to be a headset where you have to have a physical PC. But I would argue that even though this is a standalone headset, it is also a PC
He's
VR headset because it
right.
plays PC games on it. Like you're going to play Half-Life Alyx on this headset without needing to have your PC. But that group of enthusiasts, the PC master race, or whatever you want to call them, um, I think a lot of those people are going to lament the apparent death of the what are they, the base stations or whatever they're called,
Yeah.
the I think a lot of people were hoping for a 3.0, um, and it doesn't look like we're going to get that this time. There's not even going to be an option for it.
I don't think it needs
Yeah,
to
I
be.
did.
Tracking is so good these days, right? I'm sure their tracking is going to be even better than Meta's. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
an interesting question. Like I know we've probably went over this in the past, Brad, but um, do the does the data that you guys look at, does it allude at all to like how many tracking cameras there are going to be, for example, things like that?
Um, only in the proof of concept. We don't have anything for the like EV series or anything like that. So I don't want to
Gotcha.
say anything because I think people will run with that, and it's always scary to people don't know
Yeah.
what a proof of concept is, right? So I don't want to say anything for that.
So that's a big question, I feel like,
Yeah.
because we've seen, obviously, inside out tracking's been done to death by everybody at this point,
Yeah.
but it's not like a standard experience. Everyone accomplishes it to varying degrees, and
Hmm.
this is very much uncharted territory for a Valve consumer product.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily a given that it's going to be better than Meta. Meta certainly is the standard, even still today, and even if it does improve upon what they're doing, there will still be holes in the tracking. But
Let's put it this way. I heard so for a while. I heard Valve was partnering with this company called Arcturus Vision. We talked about it on the show before, which is very Valve to do. They like to contract companies that are good at only one thing, and then Valve will kind of take that, pay them a lot of money, and then adopt it for their own. The interesting thing is, more recently, I heard that they've been, let's say, a bit more hands-on themselves with I don't know if they're taking the Arcturus Vision or still working with them, but Valve's been hiring full-time people under their own name to flesh out the camera tracking even more. So they're being a bit more serious about it because Valve doesn't like to hire people like full-time ever unless it's like something they feel is really, really important. So more recently, I've been hearing stuff about that. So
well,
yeah,
that's a great development. If for nothing else, it's just further evidence that Valve's not done with VR by a long shot, and
yeah,
that something is coming. Like something is coming for us, but not for us. More for everyone. Um, and again, like I said a moment ago, I think that's kind of the most exciting thing is they're actually making a VR headset for gamers, but not necessarily VR gamers. It's for all gamers. Um,
they never
I'll be
stopped working on VR. Like that's the thing that people need to understand. Like they just they take Valve time and they wanted to do something big instead of just an index revision, which they almost did, but canceled it last minute. So yeah, they
so
still
so do
want to be in here this market.
so. Do you think? And I know that you really don't have the answer to this, but I want to ask it anyway because people are going to be thinking it. Um, Do you think like a completely standalone version of Half-Life Alyx is a compelling enough sell to kind of propel people into buying this, or do you think that maybe we could see? I mean, I guess recently there was speculation that there may be like a new title, or maybe even Half-Life 3 will have like a VR mode. Do we? Are there any kind of new rumblings about software support for a new VR product?
Yeah, so I talked to well, I shouldn't say I talked to I listen to more closely. Like I can't talk to some of the people that focus on that stuff, like Tyler McVicker and Gabe Fowler are probably like the two main ones that follow that stuff, and they both seem pretty convinced that Half-Life 3 is like pretty much finished. If I was Valve, I would release Half-Life 3 with the new hardware just to push that hardware further. Now, what will Half-Life 3 be, a VR only title? Everything they says no. So
No.
my imagining is if they launched it alongside the headset, it would have to have some of those special features that make that flat gaming experience on Deckard more interesting, which
Right.
could be very compelling for them to push that as well. I also heard more recently that one of them, I think maybe both of them, were starting to also speculate that there may be a whole Source 2 Team Fortress
Mm.
demo of some sorts to show off the Deckard technology going on. And I also heard that, yeah, Half-Life Alyx, there already is like a fully standalone version that runs on the current Deckard headsets right now internally. So I think it's more like all these things together. They're going to try to push all at once to get a little more interest into what they're going to release, because they have to have something for sure.
How
Yeah, do
Yeah, yeah.
something.
how cool would that be? Actually, that's pretty smart. If you like, 'cause a lot of people they want Half-Life 3 like with the VR mode, but if you don't do a VR mode, but you just put it in there with those special features like 3D or whatever those features are, you're not trying to push a AAA modern game in a standalone headset. You're doing what UEVR does, but you're doing it in an optimized way,
Yeah.
and you're also showcasing what you kind of want people to see it as, right? You want them to, I think, to see it as this is like an extension of Steam. Like it's just, it's not. I mean, it is VR, but it's not VR. I mean, I don't know. This gets me more excited than almost anything that I've heard about virtual reality for a long time, because I think this has the capability to actually reach more people than we've been able to reach before. It's got actual use case besides a niche thing of people that playing a game that most people just don't even know about or care about. Like it's just I don't know. I think this is cool.
I was literally
Yeah.
playing Halo 3 for the Master Chief Collections. There's an application called 3D Fix, so you can actually do a lot of cool 3D conversions, which works pretty well, even though like it's like you guys were talking about UEVR being annoying to set up. 3D Fix is also annoying, but while I was playing it on this giant screen on my headset, I was thinking like, man, it'd be so cool every time I'm in a different level. Like I was playing the level with the Covenant, which is like all on like the final battle on the Ark, and then the next level is the I think it's called Grave Mine, where you're in like the flood high charity level. And I was thinking, man, it'd be so cool if the game could just change my environment while I'm playing on this giant 3D screen to put me in that environment that's themed to what's going on in the game. That would be so cool if there was like a whole like system that could do that and stuff like that. Like that would be so awesome if that was just a thing that could happen with Deckard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it will, but that stuff seems like e- easy things that Valve could do to kind of push their first party non VR only titles if they were to do it.
Yeah, I love the idea, and it is the typical business model, right? You have your new hardware that has all of this capability. You're trying to sell the idea of supporting these features to other big studios so that their next games will support it as well. So you show them how. Like Half-Life Alyx was essentially meant to show developers what a PC VR game can be. Like Horizon Call of the Mountain, in many ways, was meant to show off the new features of PSVR 2. We could see Half-Life 3, even if it doesn't have like a dedicated VR mode. We could see it ship with a number of proprietary, immersive features that show not only developers what they can do with their games to support the hardware, but show the gamers the value of buying into the concept as well. Like this is the vision of the future that we're trying to sell you. Um, and that
If
kind of
Valve
brings me.
could, oh sorry,
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I just want to say every time I watch a like let's say PlayStation Direct, right? If I watch one of those, I always notice there's this VR versus non-VR like clash always happening. Like if Sony shows up a VR game at any of these events, people get mad. Like non-VR
Yeah.
gamers get so mad. They're like, "How dare you, Sony, waste your time on this VR gimmick?" Whatever. That's what they say, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like someone, either Sony or Valve, should try to figure out a way to make it less like I don't know, bridge it together somehow. Make it so people don't feel like if they're focusing on VR that they're not abandoning the non-VR folk, and like if they can bridge those two super passionate communities together, would be pretty nice, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, it would be great if we could get that kind of harmony about the direction of game development so that people could focus on the real problems like poorly optimized games and having AI generate fake frames to make up for the lack of optimization. Um, I guess that's a different topic for a different day, though. I guess we'll kind of wrap this segment up with just a quick word on pricing. I've seen it come up in the chat a few times. I don't think there's any hard indication as to what the price of a device like this would be, but I would just about bet my right leg that there's no way you'll see anything like this for a penny less than $1,000, and it's probably more likely going to be like 1,200 ish. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's the word on the street price, and I think that's probably gonna be true. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Well, they already
I
proved
think the
out.
technology would be worth it compared to what Meta sold with the Pro. Like they pretty much bent people over when it first came out, and it wasn't worth really what the technology. But I think this technology will be worth that. People have
Well,
to
I mean,
realize things cost money. Like I get it. People don't have money and they want to have everything that's expensive. But like this headset isn't cheap to make. It's not free. And so like, do you want a Meta headset or do you want a good headset, like a Valve headset? That's the question.
Yeah, it depends on how many of the bells and whistles they tack on here, and I imagine a lot of the established ones will be included.
Eye
Um,
tracking 100%. Like that's for sure in it. So
do you expect that they're going to be like system level support for like dynamic foveated rendering, like something that's very easy for developers to just kind of toggle on and use?
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of those
Perfect.
systems are already in the files, so we can kind of see how they work already. So
I
very
have a,
system level.
I have a question for you that I've seen Philosic specifically is really concerned about it, but this is actually a concern of a lot of people, myself included in VR. What's the headset weight on this?
Yeah.
Because the headset of the MetaQuest 3 is pretty heavy. They're finding, or some people anyway.
All I know is it seems like they're doing like the Pico thing where they're gonna try to balance it by putting a lot of components in the back of the head. So I don't
Okay.
know any weight numbers, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's an effective means of mitigation if you're not going to, do the wire and puck, which a lot of people think is where Meta's going to go,
Yeah.
following after Apple, of course. But yeah, I think I don't think that people's necks necessarily get tired from having these heavy headsets on their face. It's always a problem of balance and the weight falling on their actual face. So if they can manage to have it ergonomically well balanced on your head, I think that should be enough to make it comfortable for people. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, are we finally going to move to micro OLED here, Brad? Do you think?
We'll see. I don't know.
Is it? Yeah, maybe. Okay,
That would be
fair enough.
nice, but I don't know.
All right, fair enough. Is there any compelling information that I've glossed over in my cursory knowledge of this project that you'd like to talk about before I move on?
I feel like we covered everything that's important. Uh, yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
Cool, cool. If you guys have any further questions about this, Brad and Gamertag did a great video on it last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago now. So go over to Gamertag VR channel and check it out, and of course follow Brad Sadly, is it Dadley now on
Dadly,
Twitter?
it's friendly. Yep.
Yeah. So follow Brad on Twitter as well, and tag him. Maybe he'll answer your question. Game Kato with the $2 Australian says Struthcover. No 90s extreme skiing then. No buy. No, we don't do that stuff here, bro. We don't play those kinds of games around here. But thank you for the donation and the sentiment. Thanks for being here.
Old Earth wants to know what the battery life of it is going to be, which I don't know if we would even know that, right?
No, I honestly, I feel people, it's really hard to get a lot of battery life out of these headsets. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. I think that's going to, over time, unless we see like real advancement in the battery technology, I think that this is going to increasingly become a pain point for people, because the more of these bells and whistles we add into these headsets, the more juice we need, which creates heat, and which means you need cooling systems, which require more electricity, and it's certainly a tricky problem. But who knows? Maybe they'll strap some lithium on your head, some new kind of lithium, and it'll just all be great.
It's a problem that AI will. Yeah, it's a problem that AI will solve, like everything else, until it kills us.
I mean, they don't need to give us a device that you can wear half the day. People aren't going to use it like that anyway. But I think that there's certainly a mark around like 3 hours or so. If we could get these devices to run for 3 hours without a recharge, I think that we'd find a pretty happy medium there.
Right. Yeah. If you can get through a
Game
game, you're good.
There you go. Game Cato with another $2 Australian saying, just being cheeky. I understand, friend. Same here. Like, we all understand your love for 90s extreme skiing. We just don't have time to play every game here, unfortunately. But you certainly have championed that one on Without Parole very effectively, I might add. So let's move on. Just a word about Vision OS. I think it's on version, was it 26 now? Yeah. And just rolled out over the course of the last week or two. Yeah. The reason this is interesting to me, other than the fact that you're a daily user of it, is it has kind of, in many ways, changed the direction of Meta OS, and I got to imagine it's going to have a similar effect on the Google OS when it comes out, the new Android Spatial OS. So I just want to get your general impressions on how things are going there. Like, what type of advancements are we seeing? I know obviously the personas look noticeably better. The one on screen here, proof positive of that. But what kind of new features have they rolled out? And I know they're supporting PSVR 2 controllers now, so people can game. I think that's awesome. What are your general impressions, and what has surprised you about it, if anything?
Yeah, so I feel like Vision OS 26 is feels almost like the true 1.0 actually for this platform, if that makes sense. Like, I already felt that the previous versions were very polished in the head, but in terms of feature set, I feel like with 26 it really feels like a what they advertise it to be, like a huge spatial computing thing that can do most things that you want it to do, which for me is I want it to do everything my laptop can do, right? So the main things, let's talk about the PSVR 2 controllers first. I do have them. They do work,
nice,
as you expect. It works with ALVR, so I can literally stream PCVR from SteamVR to my headset and just use the controllers, and they work. They're super fast tracking. Works great. No complaints there. The next thing, do they sell PSVR 2 controllers separately yet? No. I heard that when they announce the revision to this headset, probably next month, is probably when they're going to also sell PSVR 2 controllers at the Apple Store.
They're coming.
Which is a weird thing. Yeah.
So
it's a weird thing to say.
So if I, as a PlayStation person, do I have to go to Apple to get separate controllers if I break one? Is Sony going to sell me a fucking controller separate? How crazy is that? That it took this to sell controllers separately. Maybe
I think they learned their lesson, but maybe not. I had to do a headset swap last year to get new controllers because of this problem. But
That's
for
crazy.
what it's
That's
worth,
crazy.
it is crazy. For what it's worth, I did read that they're about to start selling those. And I think Brad's time frame is pretty much spot on. With sometime within the next month or so, you'll be able to get these. And no, I don't think you'll have to go to the Apple Store to get them. You'll probably be
Yeah, they'll
able to
probably
get
sell
them
them
from
Sony too.
Amazon.
Yeah, that makes sense that they would sell it. But it will be weird. I already think it's weird walking in the Apple Store and seeing a freaking headset on the table. Like that's just
Yeah.
my brain still cannot. I don't know. But yeah, seeing those controllers in an Apple Store as well will be even wackier.
Have you played anything, Brad, with it? Like
Yeah,
game wise?
yeah, I did Half-Life Alyx, and it works. Tracking super solid. Just what you would expect it to be, honestly.
How did it look in there? Amazing, I bet.
It looks good. What's cool is the I feel like you guys. I try not to talk much about Vision Pro because I know I always come off as like the freak, but this headset is like one of the only 10-bit HDR headsets, so you can actually do 10-bit HDR
Oh
injection
wow.
in the Steam VR games and do full 10-bit, like actual 10-bit HDR
Wow.
in the headset. I
Like
think
real
PSVR 2 you can do
HDR.
that as well, right? I think so.
It's technical HDR. Like I don't think that the screens are quite as bright as the Vision Pro can get, but I do think it's 10-bit. I think you're right about that.
I think it is 10-bit. So yeah, it might literally just be Vision Pro and PSVR 2 that can only do it right now, which is maybe Megan X, but yeah, not many headsets do that. But another cool thing is hand tracking on Vision Pro on the new OS. It's it's actual full 90 hertz hand tracking now, and it's basically as good as if you ever tried Ultra Leap hand tracking was back in the
I
day.
have, yeah.
It's basically that now. It's so freaking solid that you can actually play. I can say you can actually play games like Synth Riders with it now. You never could before. Like it was always terrible, but now it actually is. I would say good enough for games like that. Still would probably play most games with a controller that involves artificial locomotion, but for stuff standing around and just swiping up blocks, I think it's good enough for that as well.
So let me ask you this: like, obviously, as a gamer, I could give two shits about hand tracking. It bothers me so much that there's been so much attention and resources put in by game developers to implement and sometimes even build games around that because with it being obviously an inferior way to play a game.
Yeah,
But these headsets like Apple Vision Pro and like the future Meta headsets and all the other ones that are coming are obviously going to be um, for a lot more than just gaming. So my question to you, Brad, is like, so you're saying that the hand tracking on the AVP is like really good now. Um, do you still like do you find that to be the preferable method to interact with it, or do you still find yourselves just trying to grab some sort of like controller or something all the time?
uh, let me put it this way: if it's, let's say, if I want to play a VR game, I grab a controller, but everything else, I actually will only use my hands and eyes. Like I've gotten, well, of course, I've gotten really used to it. So maybe there's part of that to me too. Like maybe if you asked me a couple years ago, I wouldn't feel that way. But I always use just my hand tracking. Even in VR chat, when I stream Halo VR, I can actually do this with my fingers, right, to emulate a joystick, even though I'm not holding anything, and I can do like taps like this to emulate buttons. And in social VR stuff like VR chat, totally fine. I don't have to hold
Wow.
anything, and I prefer that actually. And so yeah, I know it's kind of weird, but only VR gaming is the only time that I want to like really pick up a controller these days. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because you're holding things in the game. You don't want to like pantomime holding something and not have haptic feedback
Right.
and like
The
correct.
haptics are,
it's just
there's a reason for it. You don't need haptics in VR chat, right? And it actually adds to the immersion. You're not holding anything. You got your hands, your fingers.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
see your avatar's fingers and their, like the accuracy of mapping the character's fingers to your real life fingers is always very immersive in its own way. So someone was asking in chat the adaptive triggers. I haven't seen it work with anything in the Apple headset, so I don't know if that's just because no software implements it or it's just not communicated. I don't know. How's it work? Does it work on PCVR? Are you able to get those
It
work?
can with a mod, right? Somebody's mod.
That's right. Yeah, somebody's
Okay.
working on a third party mod for it. I don't know if that ever officially launched or not, but it's technically doable, but no one's really using it. Essentially, that's a console only feature at this point.
And the
Gotcha.
article
That's
says right there, it's unclear whether precision haptics will be supported nor the unique resistive triggers of the PlayStation VR 2 Sense controller. So we just don't know.
yeah. I haven't seen it yet, so it doesn't work so far.
And for what it's worth, a lot of PlayStation VR developers don't even use it.
Really? I didn't know that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Oh
It's
man, that was
Can-
the coolest
weird.
feature.
Can you take
Yeah, I
your
agree.
avatar of you as you are now and take it into VR chat, or is that not a thing
Mm,
yet?
no, I can only use it for stuff like obviously like what I'm using right now. Whenever it requests a web camera feed, it will always put my
Okay.
avatar. So if I'm in Zoom, if I'm in Discord video, or what we're using now, it takes it automatically from that. But actually exporting the 3D model is impossible.
Because that's one of the things that really impressed me with this video is like this footage of the call, right, where the person's talking to their family member, and how much, like, how
Yeah.
detailed that is. And like, we take for granted a lot of things. Look at that avatar over there compared to the new one. And if you're an 85-year-old grandmother trying to visit with their, somebody they haven't seen for 20 years or something, like, that's them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a big deal. I don't think people really realize how big that is. I'm just impressed with how good the quality is.
Yeah, when you do the thing, like I said, with Mash, is like you can do a feature called Spatial Personas, which makes it like a fully 3D, and like if they walk around their space, it walks around your space, and you can collaborate on the overlays and stuff. That's where things get like really, yeah, that stuff's a feature that very underrated. I agree.
It's
Yeah,
next
well, I
level.
mean, it's the promise of VR that we all kind of saw from the beginning. Is this technology has a magical ability to erase distance and put you in digital spaces with people. So it's cool to finally start to see the realization of that start to come into play and get a more clear picture of what our future is going to look like.
Yeah.
Just to kind of
I'll quickly run through other features so we can get on to other stuff. I
sure,
know
yeah,
I
sure.
Another feature is you can unlock your phone with your headset if you have an iPhone. So you just stare. Before they have the Face ID lock, right? So you would have to actually take off the headset if you want to like scroll through your phone or type in the code. Now, if you're wearing the headset, you can just look at the phone. It'll unlock. And the cool thing is, it will do a feature called breakthrough, which is basically just it will mask out the phone as you're moving it around, and so you can always see it in your virtual environment, which is pretty cool when you're in VR chat, for example, and you just want to see your phone for a quick thing, and you can literally just the little magical window to the real world follows my phone. I love it. That also works for game controllers. So if I'm using a PS5 controller or an Xbox One controller, it will mask out the controller so I can see where my fingers are on the buttons, and keep the entire virtual space and giant window behind like my hands and the game controller in my hands. So those are cool little tiny features they added in the secretly in the end there. And the other big feature is widgets. This one is a really great feature because now you can snap all your apps to walls and also special widgets such as like battery life indicators or like 3D art. Like any of the pictures you take with your phone that is a spatial photo, you can just hang it on that wall in your room and it will always remember where you place it. So as soon as you walk in that room, it loads all your widgets and all your apps that you place in that room, and they're all there every time, whether you have the headset turned off or you take it off, put it on later, or walk into different rooms. That feature, I think that's the feature that made me feel like this is like the true 1.0 of the software. That was the feature I've been waiting forever for a headset to do. I know Meta was going to do it with something called augments that they announced, but they had a lot of performance issues with that because they based it on their Snap SDK, or not a Snap SDK. Their what is that called? I can't remember. But Spark SDK. and it just didn't work well. But eventually, Meta's going to have it too, and I think when people get that functionality in their mixed reality headset, like people will be like, "Wow, this is really valuable." So, yeah, I think those are definitely the main things. It's just again, we're still so early in this technology, and like it's really, I'm just really happy to have someone like Apple do this kind of like crazy thing where they release a headset that is definitely not mass consumer at all, but they're building out something that I can put on. I can join a video call and stream with you all and have
Right.
the chat here. And like, I'm doing this all for my headset. I don't have a PC connected at all. I don't need a PC connected to do something like this. And like, that's just going to get better over time, whether with the functionality, and the headsets are going to get smaller and more comfortable and more higher resolution over time too. So that's why I'm so excited about Vision Pro all the time and everything. Because for me, this has kind of just been one of those things I've been really waiting for, and it just feels like one step closer to getting that.
I'm
So,
not
yeah.
gonna lie, Wes. I'm watching this video here, and I want to. It makes me want to like these widgets. So let me ask you this, Brad. When you're looking at, I don't know how extensive you've used these, but like I'm seeing that one that looks like it's a window, and it looks like it's like a real window with a real view of the ocean, and then you've got that
Yep.
picture that's like 3D, and like these are things that, like, you know, Meta brought us the dream, and we got to hang up our video games, and we got to place. You remember our old school rooms, West, that everybody laments about and how generic they were. This is like so
Well,
much next
those are coming
level.
back.
This is
Yeah.
fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
And what's
Yeah,
another
no,
cool? Sorry, one more thing I forgot, because this also works for 3D models. I like to do scans with my drone where like I'll stand in the middle of like a very beautiful nature preserve or something, and I'll have the drone automatically circle around me. Then I'll take that video and convert it to a 3D model. I can turn that model of me, and I can squish it into a little like trophy sized creature, and then I can just place it on my desk or a shelf, and it will. That kind of stuff I just freaking love. And Meta's starting to do some of that too, but we'll talk about when we get to the Connect part. But yeah, I love this crap.
I would want a little dancing. Sadly, it's Bradley. You know what I mean? Just sitting there on my desk dancing around. That'd be pretty cool.
I'm sure they'll sell those one day, like they sell the NFTs now, right? Like that'll
OnlyFans
come.
subscribers get a free animated Sadly It's Bradley model in their room.
There you go. So yeah, just to kind of wrap on this, you're saying this feels like a 1.0. So I assume then that you would say that the level of polish here is consistent with other Apple products then, right? Like it just kind of fits into the larger ecosystem as it always should have.
Yeah, it also falls into that trap where I had an iPhone before, but I wasn't like super into the Apple ecosystem. But like when I got this headset, they do the thing where it's like, oh crap, you just want every Apple product because everything works together with it so well. And I kind of fallen into that trap myself. So yeah,
So you
it's
weren't like a long time user before you. There's just the headset brought you into the ecosystem.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So now I have like the AirPods and the watch and all this crap. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But yeah.
Right. So people are wondering why we're talking about Apple, and honestly, it was added in here, but there's some interesting stuff, of course. But it was mainly intended to be a segue into our talk about Meta and kind of their direction, because we see Meta kind of taking so many cues now from Apple Vision Pro and what it's trying to do, whether we're talking about these social spaces or the avatars or any of it. Gesture based controls like we're seeing with the Ray-Bans now. But Meta Connect was today. Honestly, later than I expected. They typically do these keynotes earlier in the day, and I went today to catch the recap because I didn't get a chance to check it out earlier. And when I went to catch the recap, it was actually on, so I caught most of it. Um, for some time, it has been obvious that Meta has tried to move on from VR gaming. Not that they're not going to support it or Not that they're not doing more than anyone else for VR gaming, because they are still funding AAA VR games where a lot of others aren't. Um, that's clearly not their focus anymore. It's about building their social platform. It's about building the metaverse for them. Um, that they've tried to move on numerous times in the past at these Connect events, and it always has been rebuffed before because their core user base has always been gamers up until this point. But there's something different this year, and that is the success of the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. It has outperformed anyone's wildest dreams. People absolutely love these things. They're at an affordable price point. They provide good utility to their users. So obviously, as investor pressure mounts from all of these R&D losses that they see year over year over year. Now that they have something else that they can focus on, they're absolutely taking the opportunity to, and not too much of anyone's surprise, that was largely the focus of the keynote this year. Not only kind of the newer version of the existing AI smart glasses, but they even unveiled a new model that isn't a prototype. It's something that's hitting the market over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. And this, Brad, is interesting to me, not as a product. Like, I think it would be a cool thing to have. I don't think that the utility of it will justify the price point for me as a consumer. But, if what Zuckerberg um, says is true, this thing has a very high brightness, high resolution waveguide display on one of the lenses. And the fact that that's even working in a consumer product right now, I think is a big step forward for the technology. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think the only thing that like kind of, let me put it this way. I know what waveguide supplier they're using. I've tried some of their earlier waveguides, even since a few years ago, and it's the best kind of waveguide you can get. They're very expensive, by the way. That's why these glasses are so expensive. In fact, they're actually quite subsidized. I was shocked they were able to get to the price point of $800, which includes the glasses and the wristband. Now, one thing I wanted to kind of bring up, like as a kind of a joke, is them doing it so late in the day compared to previous events. Is it's almost like they waited for the sun to start going down before they wanted to like give everyone demos of these
Well,
glasses. And
well, they're claiming 5,000 nits or something like that, something
oh yeah,
crazy.
oh yeah. So they're using 600 by 600. They're using a 600 by 600 LCOS display with a reflective waveguide, probably supplied from a company, at least licensed from a company called Loomis. And the thing is, yeah, it probably does do 5,000 nits. Now the problem is the brightness outside is so high when it's a sunny day. You can go up to like you look at the sidewalk on the floor. That sidewalk bouncing the sunlight could be like 10 to 20,000 nits. So
Right.
5,000 nits again, it's very impressive. They get the good thing about HUD is they get to run it at full duty cycle, 100%. They don't because again, since they're not moving their head, there's no 3DOF, there's no 6DOF or anything, so they can just constantly run the image at full frame. So I don't want to say anything. I think they it will definitely be a very good image in certain lighting conditions, but yeah, it's still kind of a HUD glasses, and it's overshadowed by them spending so much time last year showing consumers and journalists the Orion, which I still see people very confused about what this glasses is because a lot of them are expecting it to be the Orion that they showed off last year, which is an impossible product to make right now. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool.
It's cool that they even showed that off, and we'll talk some more about prototypes in a moment. But no, I think that this. I mean, if they really want to lean into these smart glasses as kind of a stepping stone to AR, I do think it's the right move. They're working out um, kind of the hardware end of it with regard to displays and all of that sort of thing. Um, And you did mention that they are including in this $800 package the neural interface wristband, which I think is a pretty cool piece of tech in and of its own right.
Yeah.
Still, for a gamer, it's not ever going to replace like a controller. So don't get me wrong, it's nothing to that extent. But I think it, at least early on, looks like a viable alternative to camera-based hand tracking, right?
It seems like it will not maybe fully, but it might be able in the future do enough to where if you're so that's kind of the problem with glasses is they're not able to put cameras pointing usually down or toward where your hands are down here, so they had to figure out something to deal with that. And yeah, they had some demos. Did you watch the full show?
I love so much that they're still trying to do live demos, and it never ever works. And I love that Zuckerberg's always left up on the stage holding the bag with these things. Yes, I did see that part. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Again, I'm very curious to see how the band does with the general public. They seem to they're being smart with it where they're going to have the functionality be very small at the beginning and try to slowly add more as time goes on. We'll see what the ceiling is. I know Norm from Tested released a long hour video. I was able to catch some bits of it, and people seem to be definitely more impressed with the wristband than the glasses right now. But yeah, again, I don't want to. I'm personally not interested in the product, but I'm also not someone who wears glasses, so it takes a lot for me to put something on my face, and I don't think AR glasses is really there for me yet. But it's definitely a stepping stone for them to get to
I
that
can
point.
definitely I can see the use case for it, like especially for people like Eric, that guy you talked about earlier, who are international travelers, to have something on it with an AI loaded into it that can translate in real time and put the words in front of your eye. Navigation support where you're literally getting visual direction, like in the glasses, along with like voice detection and voice directions. Like there's certainly practical applications for it for people who live that lifestyle and have that sort of money to buy these sorts of tools. My interest, like you, it's purely in the tech. Like the product itself has not much appeal to me. Obviously, I'd love to demo it just to because I like trying out cool gadgets, but I don't think it's something I'll ever buy until it does get to like the full on AR, form factor, which is still like way down the road,
Yeah.
but is where kind of all roads lead. That's where all this tech is going to end up, is in something with more of a small form factor that does VR, AR, MR, and all of it.
Yeah, it also sounds like I heard that there really is only an expectation to maybe sell 150,000 of these in the first years, which is why if you go on the website, it says that you can only buy them in store, and by in store they mean like either best like very select retailers. So I think even Meta knows it's not a huge mainstream product, but they'll probably get a ton of data from it, and people will be able to go to demo it themselves at like some Best Buys as well, which I'll definitely be doing. And I think after I get my full hands on with it, I'll be more opinionated. But for now, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what did you think about their obvious? Again, the other obvious thing that they're focusing on is the same, disruptive technology that the entire world is focused on right now, which is our artificial intelligence. Um, Basically, almost the whole of their focus on virtual reality this year was in the context of AI integration. And as much as we don't care about Horizon Worlds specifically, they are going all in with it, and
Yeah,
they're claiming some fairly significant advancements. Horizon Worlds is getting a new engine this year.
yeah,
They're making it easier for developers to create worlds by having AI augment the creation process, and literally you're going to be able to create worlds from text prompts over the course of the next few years. Um, they so botched the rollout of Horizon Worlds uh, on Quest 2. Do you think that this is a salvageable vision without a full on rebrand? Because I kind of feel like they could nail it on the software front at this point, but the brand itself has tarnished such to the point that it's going to be a difficult hole for them to dig themselves out of, because even the most staunch VR enthusiasts, you say Horizon to them and they just tune out immediately.
Yeah, I think it's hard for the current generation. What I actually think when I heard them talking about like using AI to help creators make worlds and stuff, you know what I actually envision happening with all of this is I imagine kids are gonna make stuff for kids.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like it kind of is what it sounds like to me. I don't think I know they're starting to hire some studios to make worlds, and I don't know how well that has gone for them, but I just think maybe for Meta, if they even get like the idea of Roblox, where even a lot of kids learn how to make stuff in Roblox and sell stuff to other people, that might be good enough for them. But I do kind of feel it's definitely a hard thing to push. The one thing I really wanted to talk about real quick, that's kind of related to this was they showed off. I think they call it Hyperscapes. They're Gaussian splat software, which they showed off last year. It allows you to scan environments and then you can visit them in VR, and they actually
Yeah, yeah.
stream that from the cloud, right? I'm a big fan of Gaussian splatting stuff. I think that stuff's awesome. But the big two things that they kind of announced this year, other than like improvements to it, is you'll be able to walk around with your Quest headset to do scans of your room just from the Quest. You don't have to hold up a phone or have any special equipment to do it. And in the future, they said that they want to allow people to invite your friends to come in
Yep.
those spaces that you scan from your headset. That is a very, I think that's a really important feature that might someday have some huge benefits later on.
Oh, I
But yeah.
totally agree. I totally agree. I like the move away from the original kind of home spaces that we had in the initial consumer VR. I never understood that, because the potential there is so obvious, right? Like you load in the first time you get in the headset, you're in your own personal space. You can make it whatever you want to be and invite people over to it. Even at some point, the people could visit it without you, and like that's such an obvious like foundation to build like social experiences on, and for whatever reason they moved away from it for a long time. It seems like they're getting back to that now, not only by overhauling the Meta Home now in Quest. I don't know if this is rolled out to all the headsets yet or not. I pretty much keep mine on pass through mode all the time now, um, but I'm glad they're bringing that back. And it sounded like they're not that far away from allowing people to take these hyperscapes and just integrate those straight into Horizon World. So like, it didn't seem like something that was too far down the line. Probably would come with the next iteration of the headset, Quest 4, whenever that ends up coming along. Um, but I agree. I think these are the types of experiences that really benefit their obvious pursuit of what they're trying to build. So
Makes sense
um,
that they went away
yeah,
from those environments just because they pivoted to standalone, and the power wasn't there,
yeah,
and
that
it's
makes
just
sense.
now getting there. Because like
Yeah.
even when we like I had a pretty good computer back then, but like having all those different little games and cartridges and all the, I mean, there were so many things. I would imagine that would bog it down real big time.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call. But it
The
is
new
coming back.
homeworld definitely feels more like a VR chat world, which of course I feel is a plus. But yeah.
Well, I mean, in the ideal future, that we're building toward. We're building the internet into a physical space, a digital space, but you get what I'm saying. A space where you can feel presence. Like the ideal scenario, I would think, is that, yeah, you're basically in the future, you're going to put your headset on and be in the metaverse, like the whole thing at once. You would start in your home, but where you go from there is literally up to you. You can portal out to some marketplace or some entertainment venue or even into a game. But completely social, like available to meet friends and eventually strangers in there, just like real world. They're essentially trying to build the real world out in the digital space, and the technology is making strides toward that now, which is exciting. Especially in the context that you presented it in, is where we're actually going to be able to take real physical spaces from our real life and bring that into the digital world, um, effectively with like low end equipment, essentially.
Can you bring PDF file furries, I guess, in there? Because I guess that Bart is saying that's what ruined VR chat. Beware. The only reason I brought that up is, Brad, you spend a lot of time in VR chat. Do you run into like there are a lot of weird people in there? I mean, obviously there's a lot of people like yourself that just love VR chat, but there's a lot of weird people in there too.
Yeah, I tend to stick to my friend groups best I can when I go on, for sure.
I don't blame
Private spaces. We don't deal with noobs in any scenario ever.
Yeah.
We keep it to our circles.
Right.
I always say the reason why I like VR chat is another thing. VR, just real quick, VR chat also is starting to get a lot of like, they have a whole special renderer now for Gaussian splats, so you're starting to see a lot of people actually record splats and then put them in the VR chat, and then everyone gets to go see with them together. And it's that kind of like that group of people, like the mega enthusiasts, always trying to find the newest technology and trying to figure out a way to smash it into one platform. That's the kind of stuff I love about VR chat. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So those of you hoping for VR gaming news from this year's Connect, I'm sure we're sorely disappointed. Luckily, most of us were not expecting any of that sort of stuff. Essentially, they spent less than a minute on VR gaming, basically highlighting the games that are coming out for the remainder of the year, the high-profile titles, Deadpool, obviously. By the way, we're hearing and seeing a lot more of Deadpool now, and it looks amazing. I can't wait to play it. They mentioned the new Star Wars MR game that was announced last week. Kind of surprised they didn't hold that one for Connect, but whatever, man. Whatever floats your boat. Kind of a lukewarm response, I feel like. Most of the time when the Star Wars product gets announced, there's typically some hype behind it, but I don't know if it's the way they announced it or the fact that it's focused on MR. It just seems to be like any other game. And then they highlighted Demio times Dungeons Dragons Battle Marked, which is coming this year as well, and another one that everyone's very excited for. I was kind of expecting them to announce another big title. I know of another big IP that they're working on a game for that I was kind of expecting here, but maybe they're going to hold it for Quest 4. It is something that people will be very excited about when they announce it, you included, Roots, but we'll talk about that off air.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was literally less than a minute on gaming, so there was some disappointment with that, but they did end strong, in my opinion, with regard to virtual reality specifically. Because it finally seems as if, and hopefully they follow through with this, God knows if they actually will or not. But Roots, when we first got into this channel and into VR, we were big proponents for VR entertainment other than gaming. VR movies, VR concerts, stuff like the Wave that we used to do. We immediately saw the potential for this, and while the camera technology was shit back then, the potential for social interaction, to be able to share these experiences with people, the potential for 3D entertainment was just so obvious from the beginning, and HTC was a big funder and pusher of that in the early days, and so we got some decent early examples of a peek into the future, so to speak, of what these experiences could be. And then I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, all of that shit just fell off the side of the earth, it seems like, and I don't know if funding dried up for it or what, but it just really seemed to stagnate to the point where we have openly asked, is this ever going to come back? Is it ever going to be a thing? So I'm happy to report that it seems like it is. They've basically scrapped Oculus TV from the Quest menu now and have reintroduced it as a much more highly curated user experience called Horizon TV. I have not experienced it for myself. It is rolling out with the most latest version of Horizon OS. Um, but what I found to be extremely um, encouraging about this year's Meta Connect keynote from a virtual reality standpoint is that they focused heavily on this. They talked about virtual venues to go to concerts and watch movies with friends, not just flat screens hanging in virtual space, but actual 3D content. And then they ended up the whole keynote with like a 10-minute talk with James Cameron about immersive 3D filmmaking. Which for those of you who don't know, James Cameron is the guy that did Avatar and so many other kind of innovative 3D movies. So this stuff all seems to be coming back. And I think that it's timely. I think that by the time the next generation of devices rolls out and the marketplace begins to mature, if we could have some compelling content to help support that, I think that it's only going to be make the overall package that much more compelling.
Absolutely. Think about this, man. Like, we're trying to think of reasons for people to go to Horizon Worlds in general. What if part of it was venues and you could go to these concerts or whatever, like, and it's not a shitty experience and the camera is really good and you are front row. And like somebody said in the chat, what if it, Zuckerberg's a big fan of UFC. Bart did say that. What if you could go to a UFC fight or a wrestling match and you could be at the front row, right? And it's $5 or $10 or even free, or you have a subscription. Like, this is what Horizon Worlds is missing. Like, some reason to fucking go there. You know what I mean? Every time I've ever gone there, it's a dead zone. I think this is a really good idea, and I hope they really do focus on it, because they do have the technology now with the cameras and everything to actually make really good content, and it won't really cost them that much money. So,
Brad, do you think that they're just basically following Apple's cue here once again? Do you think Apple's heavy focus on immersive entertainment was kind of the catalyst for this kind of rebirth on the Quest side of things, or do you think it's just the regular timeline of maturity for the hardware, and that this is just the time that makes sense to them to kind of refocus on it?
So I have a crazy medium to long answer. So I think
Okay.
Apple has kind of allowed Meta higher ups to accept the idea of a tether going down to a little pack you wear, which has allowed them to sort of accept some conceptual devices within Meta Reality Labs that maybe should be productized faster as a way to, I don't know, try out different form factors that a lot of people have been saying should be tried, but just never was. um, and now that they're doing that form factor and productizing it fast, they're like, hey, one of the best use cases for this form factor probably would be this super high-end interactive media, because we're probably going to have much more beautiful displays. And yeah, I basically think that that's how it went down. It started with Apple actually normalizing the puck. Meta, we know, is actually working on a headset that is going to be a very small form factor for the face, because they're going to move off a lot of the battery and compute onto a puck that you wear on your waist. And it's definitely not going to be gaming focused, this device that's apparently been pushed up the next year. And well, if you're not going to be doing gaming on it, what are you going to be doing? Well, it's going to be doing all the things we've been talking about tonight. It's going to be big on the push of what the interactive 3D movies, and also, hey, I can imagine this headset should look really good if you're capturing 3D scans of Gaussian environments. It should be beautiful and comfortable and fun to visit friends for long hours of time. I just think it's more like a refocus of those things. Yeah.
I think that's great. Roots and I have been long proponents of the puck model, even back in the day when it was just kind of an idea. that was thrown out there, and we hadn't actually seen any products that
People roasted us, Wes. They
threw it
said
out.
that was stupid, right?
Well, some people just don't want any kind of wire, even if it's only a 3-foot wire that goes into your pocket. But they fail to. I think these people fail to see that little tiny smidgen of discomfort pales in comparison to the weight and heat of battery and compute being strapped to your face.
That's it. The heat
So,
too. People discount the heat, and that's one of the biggest things. Is like after a couple hours, you just feel drained, right? The eye strain, the heat, the weight, everything. So
I love
Everyone
it.
wants a Vision Pro that is the size of a Beyond. Everyone wishes that could happen, but it can't happen. We gotta make trade-offs, guys. You gotta think about the trade-offs. So,
right.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
10
Well,
years down the road, 15, 20, we probably will. You know.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, at that point, the compute can be in the cloud, and battery technology will have advanced, and we'll move onward and upward. But in the meantime, we have to take baby steps, and I think that this is a very necessary one. And again, so as much as I don't really care about Apple Vision Pro, I think it is having a profound impact on Meta and the others in the space in certain ways, and I think that most of those ways are for the better. Um, so yeah, here I'm all for the puck. Before we kind of wrap on Meta and the future of the Quest/Horizon ecosystem, I do want to get your opinion on somewhat related topic, and that is the obvious kind of delay of Quest 4. Um, I specifically was hoping that this product would come next year. And the reason for that being is at this point, they've obviously failed to bring along the entirety of the Quest 2 user base into the Quest 3 platform. And essentially what that means is even though the Quest 3 is a great device, like I think that there's so much untapped potential, and from that standpoint it makes sense to draw out its life cycle and get the most out of it. But here's the problem is if they do that, and it seems like that's what they're going to do, then they're going to have to continue to try to win over Quest 2 users and get them into 3. And if that's what they end up doing successfully, then when Quest 4 rolls out, you have the same problem all over again. You've got another kind of step forward for the hardware, but the marketplace itself is taking baby steps, and they're always on last gen. So I was really hoping that Quest 3 generation would be a lot like Quest 1 generation, where we show you the future, we show you what's coming. 2 years later, the next version's in your hands. It's subsidized and undeniable, and then everyone buys in. And I think the path that they've apparently chosen to go is going to eventually prove to be the more difficult path for bringing the marketplace along. But my opinion, I'd like to know what you think about that.
It sounds like to me everything. So yeah, I think was I the person that started that wave of people? So I actually was. I think I might be wrong. I think I was the first person to kind of hint to people on Twitter, publicly that yeah, Quest 4, that was supposed to release next year is not releasing next year, which before was everyone there were I think even Bloomberg articles about it or the information or something that it was like yeah they had two models, there was a Prismo High and Prismo Low and whatever, and basically both of them were scrapped at least. I know the specs of what that Quest, at least the display specs and some of the functionality that Quest 4 if it released next year would have, and people would probably be either shocked or not shocked to find out the resolution wouldn't have been too different. But eye tracking would probably been the big discerning feature, and then a brand new Qualcomm chip as well. It's not too much different over Quest 3. And I think after Quest 3S came out, didn't sell as much as a lot of people thought it would. Meta started thinking, well, maybe it's not worth it that much to have these small iterations so fast between it, and let's start. I actually think they were surprised how many Quest 3 sold actually compared to the Quest 3S, because they're seeing a lot of people who are still sticking to VR are actually okay with paying a little more to get a better experience. And I think all these things, they're a very data oriented company, and all these things put together, along with the Vision Pro release, made them say, "Hey, let's start getting a little bit more higher end. Not as high end and pricey as the Quest Pro was, but they're more willing now to experiment, I think, with VR hardware, and then try to bring that cost down later on, because again, it wasn't it was already a year ago, right, where they announced Quest 3S, and everyone right before then was starting. They thought it was gonna be another Quest 2 moment, like, oh wow, mixed reality headset, just like Quest 2 for $300. This thing's gonna explode, but it quickly kind of fell off after that, and
I
Meta's not
mean,
gonna do the same thing.
it had the potential to do that. I think if the mixed reality tech was more farther along than what it is, I don't think that the cameras are what they should have been. If they want this to be a compelling enough feature to drive people, like millions of people, to upgrade, it's got to be all the way there, man, or at least a significant part. It can't be like what we have now, which is cool and neat and fun to tinker with at times. But essentially, what we have is you have half baked hardware, and the software that supports it is just basically trying to shoehorn VR experiences into a mixed reality experience instead of taking true creatives and technological geniuses and having them come up with new concepts that can only be done in mixed reality, right? And I don't know, that could be partially be due to the limitations of hardware. Like there could be some really cool MR concepts out there that just the hardware can't push yet. But if you're gonna champion a feature like that and expect it to drive adoption, it's got to be a lot further along
Right.
than what it was. And I think because of that, in addition to the fact that they didn't go with the eye tracking, um, if you have a collection of kind of half baked features, that's a lot more compelling than one, right? Now they're in this kind of hard space where, like, eye tracking is now a well established feature. It's very useful in many different use cases, but now that it's been on the market for years, like they're not going to be able to roll that out as a next gen feature and expect people to adopt off of that either. So like I kind of get where you're coming from. Like if next year their pitch was going to be better mixed reality and now eye tracking, people are going to say, well, I've seen that. Like I don't need that.
Yeah.
So now they're going to have to add this stuff in and something else that's actually really compelling. And I'm wondering, Brad, what you think that might be, whether that be a hardware based feature, some sort of new technology that we don't have yet, be it varifocal or something like that, or it could just be the overall maturity of the software stack, right? With maybe Quest 4 supports these codec avatars. Maybe we start to see the actual maturity of the whole Horizon ecosystem, along with better mixed reality, along with eye tracking. Maybe they can sell it as a whole package when it's a little further along. What do you expect to see, if you have any inkling of what the next consumer focused Quest will be?
Um, I really think it all depends on the Puffin headset, or Phoenix, I guess they're calling it now. I really think everything that comes, like, depending on how successful that is, it will basically decide what becomes the Quest 4, if there is a Quest 4. It sounds like there's still not a
That's a good
discerned
point.
Quest 4
That's a good
yet,
point.
by the way, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I do feel like I do feel like you're I feel like it's more likely that if we get a Quest 4, it's going to be leaning even more into the whole idea of pinch type stuff. Um, I
Mm.
I don't know. I know I'm very crazy to say that, but I'm not totally convinced that it's going to be the same strategy as we had with previous headsets. I really do
So
think that they might push more into we are the cheapest, highest quality Apple Vision Pro type thing we can
so
make.
we've seen the last gaming centric headset from Meta maybe for a long time, if ever. Essentially, future products are going to be more focused on selling the whole package, and gaming will be a part of that, but it won't be the whole of it or even the half of it by that time. They're probably going to release like a budget version of an AVP type headset next year that's in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. See how adoption goes with that. See what features people get along with well. Continue to build out the metaverse and the world behind that. And then if it's something that there seems to be some consumer demand for, then you release an even more kind of budget commercial version of that the following year. Call that a Quest. You know, of course, it'll have a new Snapdragon chip in it and new gaming capability to appeal to that crowd, but that won't be the headline, nor will it be the main selling point. Is that essentially what you're spelling out for us here?
Yeah, 100%. Also,
Makes sense.
the light form factor headset, that will already have a chip that's more powerful than the current Quest 3. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I feel like these we're due a new like chipset, right? Like typically the the generation on these are like 3 years
yeah.
tops, and we're getting right around that time now. I'm wondering if some of these third party Horizon headsets are going to support new chipsets in them, like the Asus one that people keep talking about.
I'm wondering if
Um,
that still exists.
Right.
uh,
yeah, good point. Like
yeah,
we were expecting maybe to get a mention of that today, and doesn't seem to have been the case unless I just missed it.
no.
Um,
Do you feel like Meta kind of shot themselves in the? I mean, obviously they've shot themselves in the foot in a lot of ways, but I think the 3S wasn't so much the mixed reality because nobody cares about mixed reality that's outside of this circle, and even the people in VR don't really care about it mostly. They relied on titles that like there's no reason to upgrade. It's the same fucking
Yeah.
lenses. You're saying, okay, you need to get this more power. Well, I've got what, 5 games that I have to have it for, and I don't have to have those games. There's not a compelling reason to get it. There never was a compelling reason to get it. It's not a big enough upgrade in any other way except for the processor. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
know
think
that
there's a
there's other
compelling.
things, but it's not enough.
I think there's a compelling use case for this if they can get it in a super low end headset with good quality. Like I think the potential for co-location gaming in like a group situation is huge. But obviously the experience has to be great for that to be something that people want to do, and the hardware has to be sufficiently accessible that everyone can have one. So I see the vision for it, like playing games like Demio on a real life table, or everyone standing around the same virtual pool table and shooting 8 ball. Like that sounds great, or
Yeah.
but it's the tech's just not there yet. It's
Yeah, they
close, like you know.
if you think about like the Quest and Quest 2 was able to port like 4+ years of VR content to it. It wasn't all at once, but like, they had Job Simulator and stuff all just they were able to build a library pretty fast of somewhat compelling games for someone to buy the headset and get into. Whereas mixed reality basically came out really with Quest 3 a year before Quest 3S. So there really wasn't anything compelling enough for people to upgrade from their Quest 2 to Quest 3S just for that feature. If you think about it compared to like buying a Quest 2 the first time. So I kind of agree with you. You'd have to only be interested in playing those games that require the Quest 3 chip and the Quest 3S chip. And frankly, according to statistics, a lot of people are okay with playing Gorilla Tag or just watching YouTube on their headsets. So
I
yeah,
hate
they're
that.
probably
I mean, those statistics are so skewed because obviously, like the Quest 2 generation, for all of the good it did almost as much damage to the marketplace with unrealistic expectations of pricing and skewing the player base toward the active player base, towards younger users that don't buy games. It really has, it has had a profound effect on the development community, where a lot of these game developers don't have the vision to understand that these sorts of trends you have to lead, you can't follow. And so many of them right now are just trying to capture that gorilla tag audience when they're already halfway aged out of it at this point. And the person who has the grip on whatever the next big thing is going to be are going to be the ones that see success in the next generation. So yeah, sorry.
And it's dangerous to chase that type of content because Meta's releasing AI tools for children to build their own gorilla tag clones to release to other children.
Dude, so have you ever went to like the Horizon or the Quest game store on any given day and just taken off all of the filters and just look at the new titles by date, like most recent to, like, if you literally look at all of it, that there are gorilla tag clones that show up on the store daily, just hack fucking shovelware, dude. Like, and then you have like real like game studios that have the ability to make premium products that are, look at Joyway, right? Like Joyway 2 years ago, and this isn't a shot at them. I see what they're doing, but this is just an example, and I'll try not to take too long with this because we have one more topic and it's getting late. But so 2 years ago, Joyway announced a compelling concept for a VR game called Red Flowers. And essentially what it was the VR version of Ghost Runner. It was like sci-fi, dystopian world, high parkour mechanics, high violence, basically Ghost Runner in VR. And anyone who's modded Ghost Runner in VR knows how fun that could and will be. It goes into beta testing, and then it goes off the map for a while. People were wondering if it's just gone forever or whatever. It reappears last year as this game called Katana Red Flowers, but it's not katana like the sword. It's cat-ana, like it's a cat, like I am cat.
I know what you're talking about now. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yep. And they've overhauled the entire game world now. It's all cartoony with like obviously focused at the younger audience, and they have toggles like you can have gore when you kill something or confetti now, and it's all in this nice cute little package. It's not like dystopian and ugly anymore, which was one of the things I really liked about the original version. So yeah, obviously just an example of how these studios are being affected by common conventional wisdom in the development space, which is flawed thinking. But just to kind of put the cherry on top of that whole idea, shit, I don't know if I can say this. I don't know if they've announced it yet or not. Does anyone in the chat know if Joyway has announced the next update to Katana? Because they've even leaned even heavier into that, to the point now where it's almost 2 games in one. Like there's the kid game, and now there's like the muted version of Ghost Runner running in the background. And it's like, it's while I'm not saying that the game's not going to be great and accomplish everything that it's trying to do, it just seems a bit ridiculous to me at this point. Some of the lengths these developers are going to try to tap into this mythical 20 million player base that does not buy games, and only like 1 out of 50 of these games that are targeted at this audience actually see success. The rest of them fail and the studios close.
Right.
Well, further. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they deserve to fail. If you're not even really good, I'm sorry to say, it's business. If you're not gonna think clearly and you're gonna follow that and say, look, this game did well, now I'm just gonna go do it without actually doing research, you deserve to fail. And I don't feel bad say that. So.
Yeah, it's so prevalent. This is one thing that I've become privy to working in the industry for the last almost 3 years now, is like what a copycat kind of group it is, man. Like there's so many followers and not very many leaders. Like Alchemy Labs, there's your leader of this generation. And if you talk to those guys at Alchemy Labs, they fucking get it, man. They know what they're investing in, and it's not that the future of VR is free to play. It's that these kids are going to grow up and they're going to be the audience in 5 or 10 years. They're going to be the ones buying premium games. So you know you're getting them in. This is all just laying foundation for the next phase for anyone who understands what's going on.
And also,
Anyway.
like, these games further divide between people who are already gamers on non-VR platforms. They see this crap, they're like,
Yeah.
"Ooh,
Right.
I'm not touching that stuff ever." So, yep.
So as we kind of, I'm sorry I had to take off on that tangent. This is one of my biggest pet peeves and one of the things that really gets me hot when I start thinking about it. Um, I'm going to look at my email here and see if I can talk a little bit more about that joy way. But we'll go ahead and segue to the final topic, which is kind of going to wrap up meta for us. I did notice that. Well, I'll start by saying this. I was surprised to learn over the course of the last couple months that Meta's already ready to show off new prototypes, and they have done so recently. Typically, this is something that's very rare, and typically it's in a highly controlled environment. And the last time they did it, I think they showed off like 5 headsets. Each of them kind of represented what they consider to be one aspect of the ultimate headset that we're trying to build toward, right? Whether that be high contrast or varifocal or what have you. They were all very expensive. They were impractical, impossible to kind of recreate as a consumer product at this time. But they all worked as proof of concepts that there is technology in the works that does work. It just needs to shrink. It needs to be cheaper. Um, so I wasn't expecting any more like kind of prototype reveals for at least another year or two. But they showed off 2 new headsets this year. Was it SIGGRAPH? Is that what you said was the one they showed it off at?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So uh, big surprise. We got 2 new prototypes. One not so surprising, which is just basically furthering the idea, if I remember correctly, of brightness and contrast. And the other one, a feature that is very near and dear to my heart, something that I thought had been phased out completely and that there was just no hope for in the foreseeable future, and that is field of view, large, wide field of view in a reasonable form factor. So, like, we've got wide field of view headsets now, Pimax. It's just too big and cumbersome. We see attempts at furthering this at trade shows like CES, where you've got these weird like Asian companies that are melding like different lenses together and curving them around your eyes to try to make it work. And it does in some ways work, but in other ways it creates artifacts that are just too much to work around. I was not expecting this from Meta, Brad, for them not only to kind of have a solution in the works for this, but a working prototype with a reasonable form factor. So you got to go and try these things on firsthand. And my first kind of question before you get into your impressions is, was this something that was just open to everyone at the conference, or is this something you kind of had to pull strings with to get an appointment to do?
No, it was great. SIGGRAPH is pretty small of a conference. It's mostly focused on graphics rendering and stuff like that. But yeah, all the booths to try on these headsets, they have either like 2 or 3 of each prototype. Just get in line. They saw me, they wanted to rush me through, which was nice of them. But yeah, it's anyone could have tried it. A lot of people did try it because it was like, um, it was nice to see that they actually still had an immersive pavilion. You see less of that at a lot of these shows, but they still had a lot of different companies showing off immersive stuff. But definitely the 2 meta booths for these headsets was the biggest draw for sure.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful to see, especially after like you're absolutely right. Like last year, Gamescom had the big home of VR where all the big VR studios got together, and for the first time ever, that event gave VR gaming a real home, and everyone felt like this is something we're going to see repeated and grow over the years. And it's dead. It's not happening this year. the studios that haven't closed have laid off heavily, and no one has the budget for it. They're all trying to figure out how they're going to tap into the Gorilla Tag crew and become rich. Um, but yeah, you're right. Like it seems like I've only been kind of part of this end of the world for a few years now, and it seems like it was better when I started than it is now. Like every year, I don't know I'm going to go to CES this year. I honestly am leaning toward not going for the first time since I started going, and even last year I didn't really spend much time at all at the conference. It was all about social networking was the whole reason I went, and I had a great time. But it's an expensive endeavor to go to these things, and yeah, they need to be able to show me something when I get there, and I feel like a lot of times that's not the case. So anyway,
Yeah.
good to hear that that there's still this kind of presence at this heavily tech oriented conference. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's two headsets, as you said. We'll start with Boba 3. So it's the third generation. They made previous high FOV prototypes, but a lot of those were mostly them like actually having multiple displays per eye. This one, the base ex- so the base example of what they kind of did here was they took the pretty much the same lens technology of the Vision Pro, where it's a very high, like a very high quality, what they call curve polarizer, and they made a humongous lens, and they also grabbed two ginormous 3.5-inch 4K per eye displays, the same displays you would see in a Pimax Crystal Super or Vario XR4. They matched them with these super large lenses that do actually kind of wrap around your eyes, and they did a bunch of software distortion correction, which they did pretty well. I've always been very sensitive to high FOV headsets because a lot of companies, they might have really great software, but they're to get a huge FOV, it usually has a lot of distortion, especially at the edges, that might make some people uncomfortable like me. But Meta did a very good job here. So it was a, again, very large FOV, 180-degree horizontal by 120 vertical field of view,
Nice.
pancake lens, fully PCVR. They had two prototypes of this Boba 3. One was a full VR only, and they also had one that was a mixed reality as well.
And
Um,
no stitch in the lens, right? You mentioned that they're curved lenses, but these aren't the CES ones that have like a fucking weld right down the middle of them, right?
no, this is just a all one giant plastic, or I don't remember if it was plastic or glass, but one giant piece per eye. And it was even though it was a better form factor what you have from any other huge FOV headset, it still was pretty heavy, and I think it was just the just the lenses being pretty heavy. They also had to put its own processing to handle this huge FOV, even though it was a fully PCBR headset. Just all the amount of data to do all the like the cameras and everything going on, they had to put like a whole chip to process just that data. Kind of similar to how Apple does the R1 chip in their headset to process data to the M2. Very similar situation. And I'll start with the talk about the pass-through version. They sit you down on a couch and they give you a full kind of few demos. One of the coolest demos I think was 180-degree 3D video. So I've never let me put it this way. I appreciate 180-degree 3D video, but it's never been something I valued so much more over just having a like a high quality letterbox 3D movie, like Blu-ray 3D or something. But trying it with a full huge FOV, that same kind of content, is very interesting because yeah, you actually do see the full. It's the full thing. You're not moving your head around in the same video, even though there's mostly all the action going on in the center of your view. So that was pretty interesting to be able to see that aspect of it. They also had a game where like you could be able to shoot the walls and they would break and show the VR view. That was okay. And then they moved me to another desk that was a full VR, extremely high resolution rendered environments with a giant field of view, and it was kind of what you expect. It was you could see pretty much everything, and it was pretty cool. There isn't much else to say about it. It was neat. It was just it. I'm gonna go back to it. I want to explain my next one because I I'm not the only one that's gonna have this hot take. I talked to a lot of other people who tried both headsets, and they also had this hot take as well. But I want to explain the other headset, the non-big FOV, what they call
Please,
tiramisu.
because I know
Now,
what you're about to
tiramisu,
say, and I was very surprised to hear it. But please go ahead.
yeah. So tiramisu, is kind of the opposite. It is not a huge FOV. In fact, it's very small FOV. They took a micro LED display. They ran it at super high brightness with the huge contrast that OLED gives, and they basically paired it with a bunch of spheric lenses, kind of what you would see from a Pimax Crystal or a PSVR 1 as well. So it was they focused heavily on the high brightness, clarity, and it was also connected to a basically a 5090 PC rendering the most amazing environment they could. Very similar. Let's compare it to they basically pulled up a demo similar to the boat ride on Horizon's Call of the Mountain, which I
Mhm.
remember when I tried that. One of the things that blew me away when I tried that was looking at the trees as you were like on the boat and seeing the sun glistening, right? With those high brightness OLED displays on the PSVR 1. It was like that times 10. The brightness on this thing got up to 1200 nits to your eye directly, and it was incredible. Now the thing I'm about to say here is, well, let me go to the other demo they showed. They put you in a cockpit, like a airplane cockpit, and I've been in so many cockpit demos. I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I've not been in so many cocks. No, I've been in so many cockpit demos where it's always amazing to see super like high resolution panels. And if you know like a plane cockpit, they usually have a lot of displays that show the information on the plane. Now with this demo, those displays actually were giving off light to your eye. Instead of looking like another sticker on this virtual environment, it actually felt like those displays were giving off light compared to all the little knobs and dials that were not actual displays on that cockpit. And it's a very hard to explain aspect, but blew that sense of realism was more immersive to me than the huge FOV aspect of the other demo. And I even talked to other people at the event. I'd be like, "Hey, did you try both demos? And which one did you think was more impressive?" And out of probably the 7 people I asked, 6 of them also felt that this extremely high brightness, even though it was small FOV and everything, it was just that small window felt more like looking through a binocular into the real world than that giant FOV was, where it just looked like a big screen that was stretched across your face, if that makes sense. It was really
Yeah.
immersive.
So
I got to talk to Doug Landman about it. Douglas Landman is like the big main honcho of the display division at Reality Labs. He's shown off tons of cool stuff to the public from Meta, like the Varifocal demo and many other things. He's like the face of it, and he even agreed. The high brightness headset was not really his project; it was like his rival team's project, and they basically all felt together that when they made this headset and really tried to install how immersive it would be, that they would try to rush out a more improved, higher FOV one next year because they all just thought it was really just stunning for most people. And it's one of those things that, like, I know I'm talking a lot about this and it just seems crazy, like, because it's a lot easier to imagine what a huge FOV headset looks like over a tiny high brightness headset. And PSVR 2's high brightness is the highest brightness, like 300 nits, but this was 1200 nits, and it's just, it was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. So essentially, what you're getting at here is that it's much more impactful, and I guess from a design perspective, um, practical um, to the consumer, or at least to the people that have demoed these things. It seems like the opinion is going to be that having a small slice of the actual real world in VR is much more impactful than the best attempts at immersing people in virtual worlds. So um, essentially, this kind of validates a lot of the direction that Meta has gone, and moving away from kind of immersing people more in the virtual worlds. Not obviously that doesn't apply everywhere. Take a look at Horizon Worlds. Obviously that has a lot of catching up to do. But this little small peek at super high realism sounds like it was kind of a profound experience and unexpected for a lot of people, huh?
Yeah, and I think they had a few years before they did have a high brightness demo, but that was basically it didn't have any pixel dimming or even local dimming. They just made the entire image super bright. Whereas this, it's a micro LED display, so they can actually make certain aspects of the only certain pixels of the image super bright. So when I use the example, like you're looking up at a tree and the sun is peeking through the leaves, only the parts where you see the sun peeking through the leaves is super bright. Whereas the rest of the you're under a tree, right? So there's
Jeez.
shadows under the leaves. That aspect I think is what really sells the realism to me. Like just the huge brightness and contrast put together is something that like actually fools your brain, I think, into thinking things are real.
Imagine if they stacked that with something like the liquid crystal varifocal at the same
Yeah.
time. Just the immense realism that could provide. I'm sorry, Roots. I didn't mean to
No, that's
step
all right.
on you there.
How immersive did the wide FOV feel as far as like, and I don't know how long you were in there, but like, I would
30
imagine
minutes.
just being able to like my entire existence is that field of view, and I would imagine like just spending a good amount of time, or even just playing an actual game, or just being in that, it would be different than like, say I'm looking through a window that's wide field of view, or a small window that's really sharp, or actually moving around and doing things.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I feel like in actual practical use, a lot larger field of view would make more immersive difference.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the displays right now are even though that's so realistic, they're good enough to where that field of view all the time would be huge, I think.
Yeah, that's
So
always been my belief as well. Like field of view, still kind of at the. I kind of look at it as low hanging fruit that's just kind of been neglected and starting to rot now. Like
Yeah.
it seemed
so
like a
I'm
no
I
brainer.
don't want to put down the huge FOV thing. Like it definitely added to the experience, but I think going into it, I thought I was gonna add more to it.
Okay.
Whereas really, I just like looked around. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty nice. I didn't feel blown away by it, I should say, compared to what we have now. Again, I didn't think I would feel that way going into it, but that's kind of the way I came out of it. Now, I do want to talk of two things. One, I said I talked to Douglas Lamb, and you mentioned Varifocal, and I told him that I think we made this joke even here, but I'm sure a lot of people in the VR community made this joke where I kind of gave him a little bit of like, where's Varifocal, right? Because he's kind of the
Yeah,
one that
because of Abrash for the
famously
last
said,
7 years. Yeah, I get you.
yeah, and yeah, and even Landman kind of
What
said,
happened?
"Oh,
I
we're gonna
lost
have it
Brad's audio.
soon, right?" Yeah, and I basically talked about how, hey, like I asked Landman of all the Turing tests, like stuff they've done, high brightness, varifocal, huge FOV, all the stuff. What would be the one if you could choose, if you were in control of the entire productization team, what you would pursue right now in this moment? He actually felt that the tiramisu stuff is what he would actually pursue now. And when he told me that, I was like, yeah, this was amazing. But do you feel that way because you're getting older? And as you get older, the importance of varifocal becomes less important. And by the time varifocal gets productized, none of us will be able to enjoy it because our eyes will be too bad. And he even said, yeah, we even make that same joke inside of our team at Meta Reality Labs, which, yeah, um,
That's
that's,
hilarious. And
yeah,
it's
that's
even more
goes,
hilarious. It's even more hilarious on the level when you think of the idea that maybe by us using all of this kind of subpar VR equipment, these early versions, we're probably further destroying our brain's ability to discern those differences that are going to be there when that technology eventually matures. Um, yeah, so the one thing we want by the time we get it, there's no way we're even going to notice it. We're going to be like, what's
yep,
the big deal? It just looks the same. Yeah.
yep. The other thing I wanted to bring up, because I see people talking about in chat, the interesting thing. Sorry, I'm burping. So in the display case for Tiramisu, the high brightness one, they compared three lens setups. They compared the Quest 3. They compared Tiramisu 1, which was the one they were showing off at that event, and then they also had one where they were calling Tiramisu 2, and they had the specs for each of those headsets listed on the card, and I was like, the interesting thing about Tiramisu is they're not showing it off this year, and they said it's not finished yet. They're ordering custom displays and everything for it to probably show off next year. But the interesting thing about the card is both MetaQuest 3 and showed as their optic system pancake, polarized. Tiramisu 1 showed aspheric, but Tiramisu 2 had what they called refractive plus diffractive lenses, which is very interesting because when you saw the whole, I have a picture on my Twitter, like the whole spread out, they're still making a very thin lens compared to what they did for Tiramisu 1. And also they're saying they're going to be able to get 700 nits to your eye with this prototype, which is lower than Tiramisu 1, but way higher than what we have on the market. And when I saw diffractive plus refractive in a super thin form factor, I remembered that a few years ago they showed off a keynote where they were actually exploring the usage of a static type of using liquid crystal lenses. The problem with refractive and diffractive putting them together is refractive lenses. I believe the blue wavelength of light like kind of goes like this, and with refractive it's like the opposite where it goes inward. So usually you have to kind of make the lenses, if you put those two together, super thick to make it match up and like go into your eyes correctly. But they said with liquid crystal lenses, they could actually tweak the light of these two types of lenses to make it a small form factor. And I literally asked them, are you planning to use liquid crystal lenses for your next Tiramisu 2 to get the huge? Because they plan to do 100 FOV at that
Oh,
brightness
nice.
level and high resolution. Yeah, so this is the serious thing next year. And when they didn't want to tell me, but when I asked them, they had a big smirk on their face, and they're like, "Mm, I don't know," like, but that's the kind of stuff. It's like, yes, pancake lenses as their current form now, they do eat up a ton of light with OLED, but there's always the next generation and hope that those types of lenses will be way more efficient and do some of the cool stuff matched with the micro displays we're getting now.
They
So
should.
yeah,
I have faith in almost everything getting better because AI is. That's the one good thing about AI is they're plugging everything into it and it's like spitting out gold and fixing this issue, fixing that problem, and yeah, I think it's a
Yeah,
good time.
and beyond that, like a lot of people wonder where all of these millions and billions of dollars that are raised and for VR research, where they go and
This
what
is
that
it.
all turns out to do. And this is exactly it. This is why Meta keeps investing. They have a very firm idea of what this could mean if they're successful, and in my opinion, they're invested to the point where they can't be unsuccessful at this point. They just have to see it out. So it's good to see that. Um, I mean, this is really advanced technology. When you start talking about liquid
yeah.
crystal lenses with multiple functions, it's like it's pretty crazy because what you're describing here with Tiramisu 2 doesn't sound like it's that far from being a consumer viable product. Like, I don't mean from a cost perspective, but from
Yeah.
a form factor and functionality perspective, it certainly seems like something people would pay for.
And
So that's
this
very
idea
encouraging.
was shown off 3 years ago. I They probably already have demos of this technology inside the Reality Labs already. Like I'm sure they all, I'm sure everyone company does, because if there's anything I'm sure about, it's that the next big step after the current pancake lenses is to apply those liquid crystal layers to make those the same light bouncing and everything way more efficient than they currently are. And there's one more thing I didn't mention that I think would be great to end off on is I said that Landman was like the kind of like the lead for the Boba team, but there was like a rival team, he like they kind of called it, was the Tiramisu team. Now the leader of the rival team was completely in charge of designing and making and productizing the lens that are now in the Quest 3. So
Oh,
they're not just researchers on that team.
yeah, that's interesting to know. Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, man, I would love to be a fly on those walls for a few days, man, just to see what's happening behind the vault. Like Meta has made a very concerted effort over the last 2 years to become more like open and allow people into their research and like let universities and stuff kind of further concepts along. But at the same time, we know like there's stuff in the vault, like
Yeah,
there's big time stuff in the vault they're protecting, and I would love to just get a peek at some of that stuff. I'm sure it's amazing.
that is why I love going. I don't like CES. I don't really like EWE that much. I love going to these wacko either component or small rendering events because you get to talk to some of the people that are actually at these like super interior teams and then kind of see what makes them tick and get more
Yeah,
information. It's way more interesting, and not many people get to report on it either, so that helps me better. But there's one more thing I wanted to actually report on while we're talking about because
sure.
uh, there was one more thing I want to talk about this year because I probably won't be. I doubt I'll be on the show again sometime this year, but we'll
It'll be
see.
Connect next year. It's always right around Connect. So yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Another thing I saw that wasn't this event, but was at SID Display Week, another Wacko component event, was my favorite company, who is now owned by Samsung, Imagine. They showed off their newest micro LED displays, and they had a couple of them. One of them was a 4K, kind of around the same resolution as Vision Pro, but they got to 20K nits. Now that's before they do duty cycle and
Of
optics, but
course.
and that's one single stack with a micro lens array on top of it. Very impressive, very beautiful. And they also had another display that was 15K nits, I believe, and the resolution for that was like 5500 by, it was 5.5K, I think, almost both ways. And I was like asking the guys at Imagine and Samsung, like, why, that's really high resolution. Why are you making this? Why are you showing it off here? And they said that their big customers are looking toward that for their next generation stuff, whoever that may be. So there's a lot of cool, amazing stuff. Whether it's 2 or 3 or plus years, like, this stuff is growing exponentially, which is awesome. So
I love it, and I
yeah,
love that you're there focusing on this stuff. It takes a very educated mind to be able to kind of comprehend because any product, there's a certain degree of innovation that goes in making all of these components work together and produce a single product with a single user experience. But that all begins at the building block level, at the component level, and for the educated eye, um, paying attention to those spaces is really the most effective way of predictably or accurately predicting kind of where things are going. You can see, if you understand what's happening, you can kind of piece together the bigger picture for the next gen, and
exactly.
that's very exciting. Thank you, Brad. This was fascinating and fun as it always is. Sorry to go on late and keep you up even later, but you've been here enough by now to know that that's just how it goes with us. Um, yeah, congratulations again on everything you're doing personally, professionally, and hopefully it's not another year before I talk to you personally, but if it is, I'm sure it'll be just as awesome as this was. So thanks again for your time, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I'm glad I got to pretty much summarize my year of VR here. It was very good to do that.
Yeah, well, love it, man. Hopefully you get back to your channel someday, although I know how it goes, and it's not the easiest thing to do. And
Whenever
certainly,
Deckard comes out, it'll be my five. I'm at 499 videos. It will be my 500th, and we'll see what happens
Nice.
after that.
yeah, you heard it here first, ladies and gents. And we didn't even talk about the timing of this thing. I think that's pretty much universally expected that we'll get it in the next year. By the end of 26, we'll see this device,
Yeah,
and that's probably will be the next thing we talk about. To be quite honest,
yeah.
just a couple of notes before we move on the segment about a couple of tips from people checking out. Thank you, Salvador, with the $10 donation. Thank you, Traveling Man, with the $20 donation. I didn't want to disrupt the flow of conversation to recognize you at the time, but I did see you. I do appreciate you. Thank you for being here and thank you for donating. Last note quickly, the Joyway thing that I almost spilled a minute ago is embargoed information.
Thank God you just,
Yeah.
That's wisdom.
Just keep an eye on Upload VR. I won't give the embargo date, but we'll say that it's very, very soon. The next kind of announcement for that title is going to come out, and you guys are just not even going to believe what they're doing to this Ghost Runner clone now. Anyways, thanks, Brad. Have a good night. Hopefully we didn't disturb your wife and daughter, and again, hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks. Have a good rest of the show. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Damn, Roots. How fun was that? It's always the time just flies with Brad every time we have him in here, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's information we can get only from him. So I love to pick his brain for sure.
That's right. I mean, there's certainly a group of these individuals like Brad that are interested in this stuff. They're all working in the spaces though. Like there's like the conversations they're having are personal, private, behind closed door conversations. There aren't many people like Brad that understand it, but are outward facing to the consumers and to the general audience out there that's interested in this stuff, but maybe don't understand it on that like scientific level. Brad has a unique gift being able to kind of draw pictures that people can follow and accurately describe the impact that these technologies are going to have when they do finally arrive in a product. So I think that's what always makes it more fun than anything, is just being able to stop for a minute and forget about everything that's wrong and just like we used to do, speculate about the bright, beautiful future that we're all hoping to get to experience at one point, right?
Yeah, it's like our inner child gets to come out and like dream again for a little bit. I guess at least for me, I've gotten, over the years kind of jaded. I what's funny is I remember thinking a couple of years ago, like, what happened to Anthony, and now I know what happened. I just went through it. We just expect more, we want more, and it can be frustrating, but yeah, I think it's good to dream, because and this is the good news, Wes. These dreams are not like daydreams of some fantasy world that's never going to happen. This is like dreams of like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We're like right on the edge. So
the future is being built today, and as long as the world can hang on and not blow itself up, we have an amazing future ahead of us.
Asking a lot, Wes.
The
That's a fucking crazy world.
Yeah. The limitations of physical space are no longer going to be a thing in the next decade, which is
the next pandemic that happens, we'll be ready. We'll have AI.
maybe not the next one, but like the one after.
Maybe the one after. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But it'll be nice. It'll be a good future.
But with that said, as gaming enthusiasts, it's not all gloom and doom. There are still bright points. There are still amazing games that are coming. I would submit that this has been one of the better years for VR gaming that we've seen. Like the last 2 or 3 years have been great. Obviously, it's kind of hard to see around all the garbage to notice what all the bright spots are. But that's what the game of the year, the 2025 show is all about. But we'll recap it when it gets to that point. And I'm sure when it gets to that point, we're going to be talking about what we're about to be talking about right now, as we have had the extreme privilege to be one of the very few outlets out there right now that are allowed to give our impressions of Arken Age on MetaQuest. This game is coming soon. Let me just really quickly look up what the release date. I probably should know that off the top of my head, but I don't. Anyways, this is something. Consider this, Roots. This is a funny anecdote about how often we've been streaming. The last time we did a numbered episode, the news stories that we featured were Arcan Age coming to Quest, Of Lies and Rain, the Echo Wars from Ivanovich Games, and shit, what was the fourth one? I don't even remember. What's funny about that is the last time that we went live, we played the Echo Wars live on air. Whatever that other title is, I can't think of, was another one that we've played. Um, Now that we're on to the next numbered episode, we're giving impressions of Arken Age, which we've played. That only leaves of Lies and Rain, which we have the keys for and are going to be covering very soon. Um, we got to do more episodes more often, Roots. That's the moral of the story.
And the moral of the story is time is flying by so fast. And it's like you think, oh, it's only been a couple weeks. No, bro, it's been 6 weeks. You know, it's funny. I know the other title, Wes. It's Into Black for the PlayStation VR.
There you go.
And I know because when I went and used this scene, I used the same scene, so those are all still there. So it's as a matter of fact, the same Arcan Age scene. I just changed the video. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. I agree. We do need to try to get in a little bit more. We're already doing better, Wes. Just by doing this episode right now, we're breaking the trend. So
yeah, and we just did one. Like, was it last week? Like, we just did an episode too. So
yeah,
like, yeah, we're trending in the right direction for sure. And
right.
And when I say I've drawn lines in my personal life and my schedule, that is very much the truth. I've discussed it with my employers. What I've been doing for this year is not sustainable, and I'm just not going to do it anymore. So everyone understands that. I think other people are drawing similar lines. I know people that follow Miles Dyer notice that he's starting to stream again on his channel now, like literally every day. And I think we're all kind of coming to the collective realization that you just can't work all day, every day, 7 days a week. It's just it'll run you into the ground.
And it's screwing over the VR community. He tells me all the time. There's nobody making content anymore. It's like it's so bittersweet that we have this amazing company pushing VR forward, but it like killed everybody's podcast and all these streams. But you know, it is.
The good news is the good news is I mean, a lot of that is because many of us have been able to parlay the experience that we've put into these podcasts into careers in the industry.
Amen.
Which is amazing to even think about. Like, we're all self-made experts, and now we're having a direct impact on the technology that we love. So that part of it's amazing. What's not so amazing is when you're a marketing guy like me and you have a studio coming to you saying, "Hey, we want to be on some VR podcasts to talk about our game," and I'm like, what's a VR podcast? People don't do those anymore. Like, who are we going to talk to? Like, F Reality's gone now. Like, I don't even know when Between Realities is coming back. VR Crewcast is gone. Like, Coffee and VR is gone. Like, there aren't that many left, and the ones that are there,
it's
are
you guys
focused. Yeah,
PlayStation, and then what's the Fluke Rogi and Gary and them.
Right. Yeah. They're a prominent one now, and again, though, they're very hardware focused. They do talk about games, but they're audio only. I think they upload to YouTube, but it's just audio only. Main Fan and Alex do a podcast. I think it's just called the Virtual Reality Podcast or something like that. So they're definitely out there. I got to find some people that want to do dev interviews.
Right.
And honestly, I'll talk to you about off air. I think there's one that I might want to do on here in the coming weeks, if we can get on the same page about it and can work out the schedule for it. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Arken Age. First of all, our eternal gratitude to the fine people at Vitruvius VR, not only for giving us access to the game, but for, again, giving us very exclusive permissions to be first with it. Like, we're not literally first. The everyone pretty much that has it went with it yesterday, but we were going to go yesterday. We decided to wait for Connect so that we could have more to talk to Brad about, and I think that worked out for the better.
Right.
Let's see here. So this is coming shit. Let me look it up. I'm looking at embargo dates. I don't know that that's the launch day though. So,
But while you're looking it up, Shades of Grey says this looks like a great port of Arken Age. I can definitely see the compromise, but good considering the hardware. Well, I'll tell you what, like I'm gonna disagree with you there, Shades of Grey. At least in the headset, I really couldn't see the compromise. Wes, I couldn't believe how amazing this looked, with the exception of a little bit of aliasing here or there, which you're gonna see in almost every single game on the Quest. This game was like it was so beautiful, and it's everything that you've said um needs to exist for the Quest 3 line, right? This is why the Quest 3 processor is needed, is so you can have these kind of graphics, this kind of these kind of physics, like everything. I don't know. I was really impressed. What were your thoughts on the visuals?
Yeah, I'm very impressed as well. And by the way, guys, this game's coming on the 30th of October to MetaQuest 3 and 3S. It's not coming to MetaQuest 2. Obviously, MetaQuest 2 would catch on fire if it tried to play this. But it is coming, and I generally concur with most of what Root said there. Like, this is a very convincing port of a game that is a front runner for Game of the Year for us. Like, Arken Age is the one we keep coming back to when we have these discussion about what the best games in VR were this year. Like, Arken Age is an amazing game. Visually, yeah, if you look for it, there are optimizations. There has to be, right? Like, obviously, this device can't do what a PC or even a console does. But what we have here is one of these rare cases, like we see with the Red Matter devs, where the developers are so competent and so talented that they're able to effectively use smoke and mirrors to cover up the flaws. Like, so you pretty much have to be looking for them, most of them, to notice them. Now, I did look for them. I did notice them. But it certainly isn't anything that's going to break your immersion here. Like, this is a beautiful game. It's one of the better looking games on Quest. And the types of things that they did to optimize are the same things that everyone does to optimize. Like the resolutions on like walls and doors and the floor, the trees, the textures on that are of a lower resolution than what you would see on the other one. Again, though, this is all peripheral stuff. If you're standing 10 feet back from it, it's going to look identical. You have to put your nose up to it to notice it. And most people don't do that. It's not how they play VR. The foliage, I think, was probably the most noticeable difference. Like, they've done this kind of old school technique where instead of having kind of like full foliage on trees and stuff, it's kind of like paper mache, like paper thin layers that if you look at it from the right angle, it looks like it has full volume, but if you walk up to it, you can notice that it's just like sheets of paper intertwined. That I noticed pretty much right away. I was expecting more aliasing, honestly. Like, typically these ports are heavily aliased and heavily shimmering. Even some of the best games that we rave about, like In the Black on Quest, had quite a lot of that shimmer. It is noticeable here. It is not anywhere near what I thought it would be. It's negligible. It's just there's a little bit of it here and there. Beyond that, those things that I just mentioned, everything pretty much looks the same. Like, I was shocked at just how kind of full and alive the worlds still seem, Roots. Like, whether you're talking about the individual tufts of grass that are coming up or all of the things that are flying around, the enemies. These are big spaces with big draw distances.
Right.
And while there were some cases, like rare cases of like pop in, and I think there was even one instance where I could visibly make out where the LOD line was at, like the level of detail line. It was hard to make out. So, like, basically, anybody that knows what we think about this game, believe me when I say that I have no issue picking my Quest up and playing this game. I think it's amazing that I can play something like this on the go and just get in my car and go anywhere and play it on a battery standalone headset. This game is it's the game we love. It's the game we've raved about all those months ago, and I had a blast. Roots. I didn't want to stop playing to get ready for the show.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too, and that's the biggest takeaway from everything outside of how everything looked amazing. I thought the gameplay was exactly the same, and that was the best part of the game was the gameplay. You know what's funny is, Wes, I got in there and I was like, oh man, I don't want to go through this tutorial. And then I started to go through it, and then I remembered how quick and like to the point, and it was like it was actually not a bad tutorial. Even though I really hate tutorials. But it just reminded me how well done it was, you know, and it's just, I got through it really quickly. And, like I said, I just was impressed with the physics and everything and how well everything worked. And the game alone, I didn't pay attention as much the first time through, which a shocker. Like I've gone through and I'm listening to the story and what's going on. And then I actually saw where it told me that, hey, if you take this helmet off this person, you're freeing them. And there's a lot more to this game. I feel like before I kind of was just going through it quickly. But this time I was kind of taking more my time, and I agree with you 100% where typically and I'm always going to lean towards playing everything on my PC, but I'd have no problem playing this on the Quest because there's not any distinguishable difference that I can tell that is going to make me stop at any point and say, hey, this isn't the same game. It's just done that well.
Yeah, yeah, and you're absolutely right. Like, you know, we always have to insert those caveats in there, those visual caveats when we talk about Quest games. Um, while Arken Age is a beautiful, beautiful game, that never was like the selling point for it. Like that was just another aspect. I think the gameplay systems here and the physics um, are the story with this game. It's what makes it special, and the fact that the physics work 1-to-1 with the other versions of the game is very impressive to me because this is one of those games where everything has its own in-game presence, right? Nothing's passing through the other thing. You can break boxes open with your sword or you can break them open with your gun. It doesn't matter.
Or pickaxe.
Yeah, the batteries that you use for ammunition and attach to the weapons, they have weight. You attach them to the weight and to the weapon, and it dangles unless you clip it in. The climbing mechanics and the physics behind that, all of that, 1-to-1. And you know, I don't want to do a full re-review of the game itself here. We barely played it, and we've covered it at length already. So I want to stay focused on, you know, the quality of the port, but it really is amazing that this quality of game is available now. And yeah, we've seen other examples. Obviously, the Batman game last year is a shining example of what the headset's capable of. But that came from a meta studio with millions of dollars behind it. This did not. This was largely funded off of the backs of Steam VR and PSVR gamers that bought the game already. And none of us expected this game to ever come to Quest. We've probably made jokes about how it will never come to Quest. And here we are, just, you know, a few months later, and not only is it here, but like way better than I would have ever expected it to be. I mean, it's nearly flawless what I've played so far. Maybe it gets squirrely in the later levels. I know there are some of the later on levels have a lot more population and like particle effects and a lot of stuff like that that could slow things down and cause the optimization to fail a little bit. But the beginning levels of the game that we tried here and are allowed to talk about, perfection, 1-to-1 gameplay from one of the best games that we've ever played. And I'm glad that you also mentioned the story here, Roots, because I often hear this aspect of the game getting kind of short sold. I know the guys at Without Parole kind of talk sometimes about how the story of the game left something to be desired for them. I completely disagree. I think that This game has a compelling and well thought out story. It isn't completely like story driven. It's not like Farpoint or something where there's these big long cutscenes or anything, but it's got an original story. I love the idea of like the clashing of sci-fi and fantasy into a single genre, like the way this does,
Mm.
and the kind of age old battle between the more spiritual, natural, nature oriented race of beings that live on the earth, kind of the slave race, and then the kind of technological overlords that have grown up to control the resources and exploit these people. These are real life concepts that are woven into a story. And you don't see that often, especially in like the video game sphere. So I love the story here, and I'm glad I have an excuse now to kind of relive it.
You know what's ironic is I can't guarantee this, but I'm pretty sure I can guarantee this. I'm probably one of those people that said that originally, that that story was whatever. And it's
Yeah.
because I rushed through and I didn't really take time, so I can see it. I mean, it's like even just the beginning and listening to the girl, you know, the whatever she is in the very beginning, like they're explaining things that I just don't remember listening to. One other thing that I was really impressed with, I kind of remembered how good it was. Not only the crafting, obviously, with all the different weapons and you know, the amount of dopamine and ways you can build these guns and all the, like it really was and is very special in a game like this. And then the AI, Wes, like I put it on normal for those guys in the beginning, and the AI is very intelligent for enemies attacking, and it's not like a lot of games don't get that right, to where you don't feel like you're fighting enemies as much as just hitting things that are in your way. These things are flanking you. They're coming from behind. You know, they're doing everything to try to get you. I think they did a really good job with the AI in this game.
No, I was noticing the same thing and remembering that myself, and again marveling that it's running on this hardware. Um, yeah, they've accomplished something here that a lot of even more combat heavy games still can't nail, and that is to have semi intelligent enemies that are formidable. Even like the basic enemies here, they use squad tactics. And it isn't just about the AI either. It's about the balancing, right? Like
Right.
you can have the best AI in the world, but if they die in one shot, then it doesn't matter because they're dead. The balancing of the combat balancing is so well done here that it takes a few shots, even with the most powerful weapons, to put one of these guys down. So the way that plays out, since you have a smart enemy, is you take your first shot. You're going to typically miss with the second one because of realistic recoil in your projectile weapon or what have you. And then when you miss that second shot, the enemy is taking cover, man. They're flanking you. They're trying to get out of your direct path. They're trying to tie you down and throw grenades at you so that you can't get away. It's a much more nuanced battle here, and that's not to even mention the fact that they're not. These enemies are like ambidextrous, not in terms of like being left-handed and right-handed, but typically you'll have like a gunner or you'll have a melee guy. These guys are masters of both fields. So like if you're in melee range, they're grabbing their sword and shield. If you're in intermediate range, they're grabbing their shotgun. If you're at long range, they're shooting you with projectiles. Um, Again, in a single character that's handling offense, defensive, maneuvering, and again with a perfect balance that allows these interactions to take a few seconds and play out. Um, and it's just a collection of things like this that makes a good game a great game. And I'm glad you pointed that out because it's a big point and one of the most impressive things about the game, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Just watching this video, it's you know, I think I'm really thinking about it. What makes that kind of a cool thing is the enemies are on the same level as you. Like you can You do everything you just said you can do. You've got all those weapons. You've got long range, short range. You've got a melee. So there's nothing that you can do that they can't do better. Well, actually, maybe not better, but because they're robots. But
Right.
I think it's
And
cool.
as you go on, like they introduce new enemy types that are kind of the same mold, but are certainly a lot more formidable. Obviously, the balancing is different. They have higher health and shields, but they also have different weapons and different abilities too. So, like these guys that you're literally looking at here are literally the entry level opponents. They're the Goomba that you're supposed to just stomp and run by, and it is not like that at all. And one of my favorite moments, I don't know if it's shown it on here yet or not. I think it has. Is when you first go into that kind of chamber where you first craft the health at. There are it seems like a safe space for you, but there are surveillance cameras on the wall, like smart AI surveillance cameras. There's like 4 or 5 of them, and if any one of those gets a glimpse of you, it rains down hell on you, man. There's a group of 3 of them, like not just base level ones either, like some of like the Guardian level ones, running in on you, and these guys are a bitch to deal with in a group.
Especially in the beginning when you're you're like
Yeah.
weak. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't even unlocked your first like upgrade at that point. So, um, yeah, you've
I,
learned very early on that this is not your typical kind of game here. That they're approaching it from a very different perspective.
I just think the weapons are super cool in the ways that you can like mix and match different parts, like, and it becomes a completely different weapon. And like I'm picturing Wes, he's talking about the recoil and all that with his weapon. That never happens with me because I don't use a sniper. I know Wes. I know he's using a sniper gun. I use the gun with that beam that I'm throwing people around and shit.
Yeah.
There's like so many different types of weapons. Like you're gonna find a weapon that you really like. And I think that's cool too, because a lot of games they have like they might even have options, but like you're not going to use any of them. You're going to use the one because it's the best one. And that's not been the experience for me. I've found that pretty much every single weapon I've used, I can viably use it. It just depends on which one I like the best. I think that's cool. It's like I said about the devs of Into Black, and I'm sure I said it about these games. And like it actually, I know I said it about these devs. This game being this good in all these ways doesn't just happen. It takes deliberate action. It takes people discussing and sitting around and talking about it. And like, I guarantee they spent more time discussing what they should be doing than most developers take making the game. And it shows. So kudos
it's
for
kind of
sure.
crazy. Yeah, the weapon system is crazy because they have a sizable arsenal of weapons in here. But you know, if that were it, that would be enough. But that is not it by a mile because every weapon breaks into 3 pieces, and each piece has stats like damage stats and like cooldown, all of these different things. So you unlock these pieces through blueprints and build the weapons out. And once you get all 3 parts of a weapon, it's complete, and you get a stat boost for having all 3 parts. And if that were enough, that would be way above and beyond. But that's not even it because you can mix and match all of this shit and take a part from this gun and maybe put it with a part from maybe you like the scope or the stats from the butt of this gun, and you can mix and match all of these pieces into like new unique variations of the weapons that the game offers. And there are certain scenarios in the later stages of the game where that can be advantageous when you experience unique challenges that you haven't seen before. You have a bright idea. Well, what if I do this to this weapon? How is that guy going to be able to deal with it? And that trial and error in and of itself is like fucking hours of fun just by itself. Um, Talking about the crafting, which you brought up. Um, Again, I don't want to re-review the game here, but it was an aspect of the game that I had forgotten about how enjoyable it is. It's all very hands-on. Typically in VR, when you're doing this sort of thing, it gets old after a while. I never got tired of doing this stuff the first time playing through the game. I always had fun doing it. And the fact that Roots isn't here shitting on it should tell something to all of you, because Roots is the guy that sits here every week and tells you all that we don't need to do all this VR pantomime. We need gamepad controls.
Right.
And here we are with the polar opposite of that, which just shows that while, yes, it's certainly valid that gamepad games work in VR and we should have way more of that, when you do VR the way that VR should be done, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, and I think that's where my frustration comes in the most. Is like, Wes, when I started VR, I came in at the beginning of 2018. I got my Oculus Rift, and the best of VR was unrolling, right? And I'm like, oh my God, Edge of Nowhere, all these different games. And then where we're at now, 7 years later, and things have regressed to the point where we don't see those games anymore. And yeah, I said that to Dee the other day. I said, I'm, at least in my mind, like, if I am enjoying a game or raving about it, I feel like it's a good game because I have a high bar of what I consider a good game anymore. And as long as it's actually fun and it's in a game, I think that a lot of games developers aren't going in to make a game to be a game. They don't understand what makes a game, or what makes it fun, or what makes you want to continue to play it. Like, cause I've started a lot of games that I've not wanted to finish flat and in VR. And that's a problem,
Yeah, in VR, it's like, while they're technically games, a lot of them, the points that are good about them aren't the gamified points. It's more like it's an interactive experience that have game elements tacked on, instead of having a fully cohesive game with well thought out and dynamic systems like Arken Age, for example, or Into Black, the games that we're raving about this year. The good news is I think that things are moving in the right direction for the studios that are still focused on making premium VR games and aren't trying to make Gorilla Tag clones and shit like that. Like, I'm extremely optimistic about the rest of this year, whether we're talking about Reach coming from In Dreams next month, or the Deadpool game, I think is going to be awesome, or the Thief game that's coming for Vertigo Games. I think those are all going to be great, and we've already had some great stuff. Don't get me started about Hitman on PSVR and how awesome that is. That's about to get an update too, Roots. I'm sure you didn't know that, but it's about to get a substantial content update.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they're bringing freelancer mode into VR is the speculation,
nice.
and that's going to pretty much double the content and make it an infinitely replayable game.
Yeah, I agree.
Grandpa Barbecue of the Game Cat with the $5 Australian asks, do you think devs with poorer Quest 3 sales may start not focusing on Quest as Quest stops paying for exclusives as much in the coming couple of years? First of all, I'm not convinced that Quest is going to stop funding exclusives. I think just because Sony isn't doing it so much anymore, and Valve never kind of did it in the first place, I think Meta recognizes their position as a leader in the space, and they recognize that while the center of their while the center of their audience isn't always going to be gaming centric, I think that it firmly still is now, and it is going to be for a few years. So I think it's a long time before Meta stops funding exclusives. I think we're going to get a big game from them every year, probably for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I would say, where's the evidence that they're even slowing down? Like, they've just they're about to bring out Deadpool, and they're about the only ones that are paying for exclusives to come to VR.
Yep. Now, to your question, do I expect devs to stop focusing on Quest? No, I don't. I think devs are going to continue to focus on Quest, and to their detriment, they're going to continue to develop for Quest 2, trying to capture all of those people that are still there but not buying games. I think that's a mistake, and I think it's a much bigger danger to the ecosystem than people focusing on the platforms where gamers are playing, Quest 3, Steam VR, and PlayStation VR. I think we could see a bit of a shift. I think people are finally starting to come around on PSVR as a viable marketplace. I think if I think if the Sony backend were more developer friendly and it were easier to publish games on Sony, that we would see a lot more day and date multi-platform games, if not outright exclusives on that platform. But developers are starting to realize that Quest is a hard place to sell games at these days, and that these numbers, these inflated numbers, aren't real. If you're trying to sell games to people that have a budget to spend. Um, so I think people will certainly keep barking up that tree. It's still the place where the most gamers are at. But that gap, that perceived wide gap between Quest and PlayStation and Steam, people are starting to wake up and realize that it's not quite as wide as they thought when it comes to paying customers that are gaming enthusiasts.
Well,
So, no, I'm
well,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say here's the thing about the Quest 2s too. If there's a developer out there that's is thinking along those lines, I hate to break it to everybody here, like just looking through rosy glasses. Like most of those Quest 2s are sitting on a shelf in somebody's closet. They're not being used. Like everybody's
Many
under
of
this
them are.
assumption just
I've
because they're out there and people played them for a while. That's the biggest reason why we didn't see the mass adoption of people upgrading West, because they weren't using the 2. Why are they going to go buy the 3, the main version or the Quest 3S? Like
Yeah.
it's a brick to them. Well, I already wasted money on that other one. I'm not getting another one. That's a lot of people out there. I guarantee you. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
and
agree
that's
with it, but they were out there.
and that's what's so frustrating about these studios continuing to develop for Quest 2 instead of just moving on, because it's going to take software to convince people to buy into the next gen. Like there are still people out there to convince to buy these things, but they need games, man. You know, Meta is still funding exclusives, but one game a year is not enough to support a platform. We need more Arken Ages and Into Blacks and more of these games, and I think we will get them as the healthy companies that don't die off start to wise up on the reality of the situation. And yes, Looper, I am aware of games like Hitman and Resident Evil that are getting exclusive VR upgrades. That's not really what I'm talking about here. When I talk about exclusives, I'm talking about first party exclusives. Games made by Meta for Meta, games made by Sony for Sony. We're not getting those from Sony anymore. We There's rumors that there are 2 more of them in development. I hope we see them. I'm sure that they'll be among the best games we've ever seen. But right now, those are still just rumors, and it's been since launch since we've seen a first party exclusive from Sony, and that's just how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, what the good news is, we've got indie studios like this, small studios that are putting out better games than a lot of these AAA studios, which is crazy to me. This is a 4-man team. And Dee even said this about, it was about this game or maybe Into Black as well. Like maybe we just need these big studios to start having a small studio mindset to actually get a
There you go.
good game made.
hey,
Because
that's the trend. That's the trend in flat gaming now, man. Triple A's yesterday. It's double A now.
yeah. Well, and here's the thing, and I think it's very short-sighted for a lot of these devs. Like, I guarantee you, Wes, the next game that this studio puts out, I don't care what it is, from the very get-go, I'm already inclined to think, okay, this is a game I'm interested in, without even looking at the trailer. It doesn't mean I'm going to blindly buy it. It just means they've got me in their corner from day one. And studios, they are so short-sighted. They'll put out games that are mediocre or halfway done. And like I would never walk into a business that I'm applying for a job and halfway fill out the resume or fill it out with a bunch of bullshit and then expect that I get hired for the job. Like at some point, you kind of have to know that this game is your resume for the next fucking game. And if your game sucks or is mediocre, I'm not going to buy it. You know what I mean? So
And I love that. And I love that you said that, Roots, because that kind of leads perfectly into my kind of like next point about this. And it's something I was talking to Brian about earlier today. And that is just the trajectory of this studio amazes me. This is the studio that in Gen 1 brought us Mervils, which was an average VR platformer at best. They moved on from that and brought us Shadow Legend VR, which was kind of like a slice of Skyrim, but
Mhm.
it was a much more VRified living slice of Skyrim. And now from that we've got this, which is kind of their magnum opus, right? Like another huge step for this small studio. Um, and that's why I want to tell people that you have to own this game. You have to buy it on one platform or the other, and I literally don't care which. They all have their advantages. Um, when we have small studios like this in this starving atmosphere where studios are closing, we have got to support it. So please, if you don't own this game yet, wishlist it now. Pick it up the next time you buy a game. I promise you won't regret it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Like I said, it's one of the best games I've played this year. I would say between this and Into Black, are two of my favorites, and it's crazy that I've played them both
Yeah,
back to back.
we've got a gap. We've got to catch up on there. There was about 4 months of games that we got keys for and never played. I know Ghost Town. Everyone keeps raving about. We need to get back to that one. V Racer Hoverbike is amazing. We'll need to cover that one. We're going to play catch up on that stuff between now and the end of the year as we get time. Um, we kind of moved on from the idea of doing one big comprehensive episode that spans months because we just can't prepare for that all at once. It's too much at one bite. So we're going to take it incrementally, and we're certainly going to nominate games from that dead space. But it's going to take us some time to get around to playing them and giving them their fair attention. They will get their attention in their day on our channel. It just won't all be on the same day. Um, anyways, my point was like I look forward to what's next from Vitruvius,
Right.
and if we want that to truly be bigger and better, they're going to need to be able to sustain themselves on the money that they make from this game for a few years while they build it. And in that spirit, again, everyone needs to own this, and not just to support. They deserve it. They've built a game here that's truly exceptional.
You deserve
And
to play it.
exactly.
I'm watching the climbing on this, and it feels like I don't know how many games, Wes, whether it be climbing with your hands or using some peripheral like this, they fail, they blow it. Like this feels good, and it's fast paced. Like that's my message to all devs, man. If you're gonna make me climb, let me go at my own pace. There's nothing more frustrating than because I climb like this, Wes.
Yeah.
You know, like I just that drives me crazy. I like you're holding me hostage while I'm climbing this fucking ladder. I don't like it. Sucks.
So I'm going to tell you something that you're going to find somewhat exciting, I think. So today was kind of the embargo lift. A lot of people got to go to do an hour-long demo of the big AAA In Dreams game that's coming next month, Reach, right? And from the early trailers, you could tell that this was a climbing heavy game. There's a lot of climbing, like Horizon Call of the Mountain climbing, levels of climbing in this game. So a lot of people were worried about that. That's fatiguing. That's boring. We found out today that the style of climbing in this game is like Stormland climbing, where
Oh
you
wow.
grab yourself and
Fling
throw
yourself
yourself off the wall. Yeah, yeah, it's that type of climbing.
up. Okay.
So it's much more fast paced than anyone expected, and the more I hear about this game, the more excited I get for it.
Yeah. Me too. Oh well. That's the first time I'm hearing about it. That sounds good to me.
Anyway, I don't have any idea how long we've been doing this, Roots. I know it's a long time and it's late, and I've got still work to do before I can crash. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, thanks to Vitruvius VR for letting us try out um, the Quest version of this game. We'll have more detailed thoughts on it during the Game of the Month episode for September when that comes, probably in December sometime. But during the Game of the Month, we will definitely have more extended thoughts on it. We just played the intro to the game right now. I'm going to keep going with it and see if it breaks down or if it sustains all the way through. I bet you it holds up. Anyway, before we say goodbye, I just want to one more time shout out our Patreons, the ones that have hung with us. I know you guys have been getting jacked from me. I did, I think, manage to capture gameplay audio in this video. So that's something I can share with you all. But right now, what I want to do for you is just recognize you, because I meant to update the outro to recognize all of the current donors. We've had quite a few fall off, but we have had some new ones join as well. And I wanted to recognize those people here, but I didn't get time to update the outro. So I'm just going to go straight to the Patreon page, read down the current list of paid patrons, and shout everybody out by name right now.
Before you do that real quick, I just wanted to say, D said, you know who loves when it's fast paced and feels good?
My mom.
I just realized we had no my mom in there. And I had to
there was
slip it in.
There was a couple of setups from Brad, but I didn't want to stop his flow to force it in.
Yeah, you know who loves it when you force it in?
Down to the, yeah.
My mom.
When he starts talking about cockpits and stuff and going down, like, it's hard to keep it in sometimes.
Yeah. Wow. There's another one right there too. So.
All right, this is going to take me a minute to get this up here and get it filtered off correctly, but these people deserve recognition, so I'm going to certainly do it. Let's see.
You know who hates to stop the flow? You know who likes it when you slip it in? Hey, we got some good ones coming in here, Wes.
You know who loves it when there's good ones coming in there?
My mom.
Oh yeah, she's getting busy all of a sudden.
Dude, we got tons of free members. I think I'm gonna have to start doing something for the free people, or giving them something, some kind of like show preview, or I don't know.
What's
I don't
a free
have time
member?
to do anything, but you can join Patreon for free. Some Patreon accounts don't put everything behind a paywall. So they're like, they'll let people preview some of the posts and catch snippets. And I don't know what any of these free members have access to, because I've never treated Patreon as a platform like that. It's always been about rewarding
engagement,
people who donate. Yeah. So hopefully they get some benefit out of being a free member. If not, maybe one day I'll think of something that I can do that's easy to make that worth their time. But thank you to everyone who joined, just cared enough to join at all. That's pretty awesome. Let me see here. They've moved everything around. They keep updating fucking Patreon, and everything moves around. I gotta find it now. Maybe membership, is that where I want to go? No, those are my tiers. So that's not it. And let's see, collections, shop, membership, about, recommendations, latest activity. Can I click on that? No, of course I can't. Let's go to insights. Maybe it'll be in insights. We have 91 active members. 50 of them are paid. 41 of them are free. So like literally almost half of our Patreons are on the free tier. And we have 3 new members, one of which is a free and 2 are paid. And it still doesn't show me what their fucking names are. What the hell, man?
It's a mystery.
Dashboard, library, audience. I bet it's in audience. See which members are eligible. No.
I should love when you're using something and you're like, it just none of it makes sense. It's like, how does this UI even make sense?
All right, here we go. Now we've got paid members up. So we're going to start with most recent members first, and then we'll work our way back to the OGs. The most recent to join our channel is a person by the name of Smash Fuller, joining the $3 tier this month. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining. We appreciate the support. The other new member that joined in the course of this last month is a company that I'm very aware of, named Heromation. This is a VR game development studio that just launched a game a couple months ago on MetaQuest, and I know these people because they're former clients of mine. I helped bring their game to market. The game was called The Phoenix Gene VR, and at first glimpse it seems like it's a pretty standard like stationary wave shooter, but it's not. If you get in and play it, there are elements at play that don't have, not wave shooter, but rail shooter. It's on a rail. But there are things in this game that aren't in your typical rail shooters. There's dimensional play, like where you're hopping between dimensions, and certain weapons will only work on certain enemies. And one of the more innovative things they did was, while it's true you're on a rail and you're moving, kind of dodging things pistol whip style as you go down the rail, your room settings very profoundly kind of affect how the game and the rail works. So if you have a lot of room, it's a lot more free flowing and a lot more movement oriented. If you don't have a lot of room, it's more like a standard rail shooter. But anyway, we appreciate the support. I quit working with them months ago. They really have no reason to come here and support, so we certainly appreciate it. Now I'm just going to kind of go down the line with the rest of everyone. Ace Gamer, Classy Grandma, Raul, James Collins, What Is This? Which is Jank Media, Andrew Ehrenreich, Violator, the Game Cat, Metal Messiah, Alahimbe D, Catalagic, Game Cat, 12-Toed Tom, Mark Pringlesleaf, Lou Sistma, also known as Old Darth, Dan Johnson, which is VR Mad, JPEG Q, Lynn Bernstein, Salvador, Game Cat Drac, Time to Play VR, Duggars K, David Gebhardt, Jay the Foveator Inner Game Cat, Benjamin Dowswell, David Burmett, Grandpa Barbecuer the Game Cat, Focal Point, Geisen, Diego Darko, Prophecy 777, Not Sure Brondo, Craig Culp, Jenna Wood, Antone Jones, Four Willin, Stingray X, and now we're starting to get into some older school supporters like Jim Perona, Orseek, Looper, Simplex, still a donor, Michael McQuaid, Guido, still a donor, Gabriel 004, Mark Finley, Adam Doyle, Awesome Tatum, Mickey Barrios, Felipe Laris, Bluebell, Techno Glitch, Chinatown D, and then and now we're getting to the OGs of the OGs, Todd Jackson, GamerChick13, Chris Richardson, Danny D, Robert Starenchak, Ray Pope. Oh, now I'm realizing that some of these paid members have canceled, and I've been reading off their fucking names.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you for your in the past.
Most of them are still subscribed. Yeah, some of them. Now that I realize that, I'll skip over the ones that have canceled. Meow Meow the Gamer Cat, Island Kara still trucking along. Acid X. You know what tipped me off, Roots, that I was reading old subscribers? Wolveraza. I just saw Wolveraza's name, and I thought, surely there's no way this guy's still giving us money.
He came by and hung out in D-Stream the other night.
Did he really?
Yeah,
well, I'm glad
he's
that
probably
he's
out there.
still
Wolveraza,
alive.
we miss you, bro.
Yeah, we're glad you're still okay, assuming that you're still okay.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what. Oh, go ahead. There's still names on there?
Yeah, Acid X is still a member. Derek Halverson still a member. Traveling Man, of course. Eric Masher still donates
Mash
to
Daddy.
to Patreon. Soren still donates. Overgees still donates. Shout out to Overgees, brother. I think about you. I think about you often.
All the time.
I hope you're doing well. Yeah. Zaylin Maru still donates. Radio Runt, of course, our second longest Patreon, actually tied for first. Both of our OGs joined on the same day, April 12th, 2020, and still here. Radio Runt and Skiva.
Wow.
The foundation of
that's
all of
crazy. You know, my two thoughts when you're going through that list. Damn, that's a lot of people. That's a long list. And then my second thought was, damn, that's a lot of amazing fucking people on that list. Like that is a good list of people. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and even if some of them were canceled, we appreciate all of you. Yeah, like times are tough. Dollars are worth less now.
And I've canceled Patreons. You know what I mean? Like, let me sit there and act like I haven't like been paying to somebody and then taking my money and and gone somewhere else. It is what happens. We
Yeah.
appreciate
So,
it.
anyways, the moral of the story is that we appreciate you. We haven't forgotten about you. We are, again, as we get more involved with the channel again, we are going to also get more involved with the Patreon again, and there will be benefits to you. I know there hasn't been much this summer, but that is changing. And on that note, we are going to run the outro, even though it is the old outro from months ago. We know that people love it. We don't often do it on Strangers in the Night anymore because we typically end off with like a real-time review or something, and we just end abruptly. We know people like the outro music. They like to say bye in the chat. So we're going to run the old outro. But we just did roll call for Patreon and appreciation. There's links to everything in the description. You guys know this already. If you want to support with money, you can do it on Patreon. If you just want to join one of the best communities in gaming, just join our Patreon. That's free. Or not Patreon, our Discord. That's free. There's an invitation down there. You'll be greeted at the door. People still every day in the Discord discussing all sorts of things together, not just gaming stuff, but the world in general. Love the Discord community. Everyone's welcome. So please join. And of course, if you haven't already and you've enjoyed the episode, click the stuff. Click the subscribe button. Click the bell. I'm told there's some setting now that got toggled off for a lot of people that if you're using like curse words and stuff on your episodes, that the filter somehow got turned on, so a lot of people aren't seeing the videos that they used to see in their feed. So I forget what that setting was called, but figure it out, check it out, make sure that it's toggled off. Like if you didn't see this episode in your feed and you're wondering why, that's probably why. So go check your settings out. YouTube's doing some tomfoolery and shenanigans
How
here.
stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, let's make it worse.
But yeah, like, notifications, subscribe. That's all very helpful. We've been teetering right on the next milestone for so long, and we haven't been doing episodes, so like we haven't been gaining subscribers. That's just
Right.
kind of how it works. So
Our
yeah,
fault.
if you enjoyed this episode as much as we have, let us know. Click the stuff if you haven't already. Anyway, let me just bring up my chat and make sure we don't have any more tips that we missed. We do not. I think that's going to be a show and a night for us. I got to go. I got a lot more to do before I can crash. And I appreciate everyone for showing up, for staying up. And we'll see you again next week, ladies and gents. Have a good night.
Take it easy.
Mm-hmm.